It's homecoming. It's the final round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series for 2017. Our qualifying is underway. We'll be with you with all the updates next.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them for abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show under the world of outlaws.
Welcome to Texas, and welcome to the final round of the 2017 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Yes, we already have a champion in Martin Kroenke, but today there are two questions to be asked. Will Kroenke go 12 for 12 in the championship, and who will get themselves their ticket punched to next round series? Who will get the prize money, and who will have to work themselves through the Pro Series of road racing? So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Circuit of the Americas for the final round of the championship. Will Vincent, along with Jonathan Simon, we will have Jake Sperry and Paul Smith giving comment throughout the course of the next couple of hours as well. Qualifying, as we say, is already underway, but Jonathan, this is a very interesting racetrack because Kroenke leads away in qualifications right now, but a lot of people have a lot of different agendas on the line.
Yep, definitely. Welcome, everybody. And today we know that Kroenke has wrapped up the championship at the Nürburgring, but we also look to see who will claim those final prizes in the top 10, as well as the licenses for next year's championship in the top 30. So two different barriers to look out for there. But this circuit, I love it. Circuit of the Americas, the challenging first sector. It's all about that grip that you need through there. You have to nail every apex. Those anti-cut curbs can really damage the front wing too. So that's something to look out for these drivers today, and the mistakes they'll make through that first sector. But that long straight between turns 11 and 12, it's very boring on your own. You just make some in-car adjustments, but when you're battling, it can get into hairy 3-wide, 4-wide situations, which you really have to be careful of.
Yeah, and of course, Jake, we did see this race as part of McLaren's World Fastest Gamer just 6 days ago. Not 6 days ago, a couple of weeks ago even. But Circuit of the Americas is one of those tracks that people always put a little red circle around because it's a track you can either be fantastic at or it's a worry track.
Exactly, and when it comes to this circuit, it's either your best friend or your worst nightmare, because it holds so many keys to past circuits. You talk about that opening sector being so similar to the Silverstone, Maggots and Beckett section that it's unbelievable. But what I think drivers need to be careful of, as we saw in World's Fastest Gamer 2 weeks ago, is the fact that the moment you step out of line and make a mistake, yes, you've got a lot of runoff to work with, but my goodness, you have to be on the ball to get back in line and not lose too many positions. You saw the battles that happened between Schothorst, Fluke and also De Korps. That's something just to keep an eye out on here today, and especially when a lot of drivers do have those agendas with the finale in just 1 day's time.
Yeah, and of course, you had yourself Matt Bakken moving himself up into second place in qualifications. Alexei Isiakola up into fourth place for the time being, running on board with Mogar Philo right now. Now, traditionally here, Johnny, we'll be talking about the top 25 in terms of moving forward to next year. And Mogar Philo is currently P number 26 in qualifications. But this year, it's top 30 that will qualify, not top 25. But for Philo, he is still on a bubble.
Yep, it's definitely quick in this circuit of the Americas. We'll see how it plays out for Radicals. He's currently on an outlap. He's heading to turn number 12 now, through the left-hander and through this very tricky section of turn 13, 14, 15 up to 16. You need so much mechanical grip through here. You get very nervous. It's lock-up central through this corner he's coming up to now in turn 16. The front left loves to lock up through there. It's very easy to run deep. And here's this corner of the racetrack, Will, where the aerodynamic grip is so important. And you can see the various types of technical elements you need to be quick around this circuit. It's very setup dependent. So those drivers, as Filio has a big moment there on an outlap, those drivers with big teams and lots of testing and lots of knowledge will fare very well here. And that's why Kroenke with a 34.9 is currently on provisional pole there by quite a good margin over Mac Backham, and only a few seconds up as well on last year's pole time.
Yeah, and one of the things that's worth noting as well here, Johnny, is the fact that these drivers are aborting laps just before the start-finish line, because if you do not get the tyre temps up, if things don't feel right, it is a long lap here. You do not get the opportunity to make it right in sector number 1, because sector number 1 is arguably the most difficult of the 3 sectors here.
Yeah, I mean, definitely is. I mean, sector 1, you go offline once, you either have to back off the throttle and lose time or clip the anti-cut curbs, and that can absolutely damage the car, ruin the lap, and ruin the race if you get it wrong over the 56 laps. So very important. And it's also crucial because some of these guys may plan their qualifying session before they come in. So they plan when they finish each lap. They plan when they leave the pit lane for the entire 10 minutes. I remember they've only got 3 laps as well, and they're currently limited. We know Mogar Philo, though, hasn't set a time. He's got a couple of laps up his hand here.
Yeah, Martin Kroenke is heading back out onto track. I was about to say, if you want to get your second lap in, you must be out of pit road with 3 minutes and 15 seconds remaining maximum. And that's if you do a fast flying lap here, Paul, because the outlap, a lot of drivers are taking very slowly here because of how long a lap of COTA is, and also how demanding a lap of COTA is on the tyres.
Yeah, not only are they taking that time to the tyres up to temperature, get the brakes up to temperature, as Phil goes in 17th place, even, easy for me to say. But not only that, you're also having to make sure you're not using the battery as well. You want to have that battery pack as full as possible so you can deploy that ERS energy throughout your flying lap. So really it's crucial to get a good outlap here, but not use up too much of the tyre, but also not use up any of that battery.
On board then with the 2-time world champion Martin Kroenke, and well, now he is world champion, we've got to start asking the question, is he going to be in a situation where he will try and go for 12 out of 12 here, Jay? Because if he does, it'll be historic. The first driver to ever get himself 100% race victories in a season. Of course, he will not beat Gregor Hutu's record of wins in a season, because back in 2010 there were more races in the season, but he can equal Gregor Hutu's wins in a row.
He can, and I think that's very crucial to keep in mind just how dominant Martin Kroenke has been this season. All conquering, all that come in front of him just do not stand a hope in hell. And it just goes to show the testament of the work that both Martin Kroenke and VRS Simsport have done behind the scenes, not only just to improve from that moment that happened at Silverstone where just when Hutu ran out of fuel, it gave the momentum to Martin Kroenke for what has arguably been the last year and a half. But you have to say, Will, that Martin Kroenke has deserved to win all 11 races by just sheerly the amount of race pace that he's shown, on top of being a 10th and a little bit clear of Marcus Jensen, who's doing a very good job in position number 2. You can't ask too much more for Martin Kroenke. It is going to be so fantastic to see if he can make that 12 out of 12 happen. You've got to go for it as a driver.
Yeah, and where did Marcus Jensen come from there? Because all of a sudden, Johnny, Marcus Jensen, P number 2 in qualifications.
Yep, Apex, they've been testing well. They've looked good over testing from what I've heard, and they show it there. I'm disappointed, though, with Peter Berryman. I think he might have made a mistake on one of his laps, because he certainly should be up there, but his teammate Jamie Flukes climbed up above him, Kevin Ellis Jr. in P11, so those Apex cars look strong. Kroenke, though, is ready to demoralize the rest of the field here towards the end of the lap. He's already got pole almost sealed. You never know if somebody's going to cross the line and snatch it miraculously, but I think he's going to even improve on his time as he heads towards turn 19 and 20, these final 2 corners. And no Gregor Hutu today, just to mention. Not here, but he's all sealed for a license next season. Kroenke across the line, and wow, how about that, Will? 2 tenths up on his own pole time.
Yeah, and 3 times per second faster than Marcus Jensen, 3 times per second faster than anyone else in the field right now. Stephen Michaels is the only guy currently scored on track. Let's go on board of him as he heads himself down to hashtag turn 12. But he will not be able to get himself a lap done in this qualification session because he has only got 14 seconds now to get himself to the start-finish line. He cannot do that, even with superhuman powers, in time. So that gives us the opportunity then to turn our attention and have a look at our starting grid for this, the final round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Checker flag is out. Martin Kroenke for Simsport, 134.718 gains pole position here today. Second place will go to the driver of Marcus Jensen in the Apex Racing UK machine. Here's the question. Is that the highest you ever had is it Norwegian, Danish driver as high up in the field there, Johnny? Danish. Yeah.
Yeah, he's Danish. Not sure. That's a great question.
I think it is.
I love the Danes, though. Copenhagen, always hear good things about it, so yeah, I don't know. That's unrelated. But he's in P2. He's on the front row. He's only 16 years old, by the way, too. He celebrates his 17th birthday in a couple of days.
Yeah, of course, he's too young to qualify for McLaren's World's Fastest Gamer, but we want to keep an eye out on him over the course of the next couple of years. Third place is Freek Shawhorse there in Team Redline. Fourth place, Mitchell de Jong for VRS Simsports. Matt Backham in 5th place there. A good qualifying there by Backham. 6th place at Alexi Usiakola. Martin Piatella in 7th there for VRS Simsports. Running out your top 10, Jamie Fluke for Apex Racing UK. Peter Berryman for Apex Racing UK, and Ilka Happala for the Orion Racing. You know, the one thing that's on my head right now is some of these drivers a little bit later on today here, Jake, are going to be competing in the World Cup of iRacing. And these drivers, as it stands right now, Finland is ahead of Club UK and Ireland.
Well, Finland does produce some of the greatest talents, not just in motor racing, but you talk about rally, you talk about any sort of form of racing, you always see a Finnish driver somewhere up inside that sort of list. But don't count out UK and Ireland at any given stage. We know how strong they can be, although it's been Finland's playground for the last few years. I tell you what, it's been close on occasion, but I think it's going to be even closer than close this year.
Yeah, the World Cup of iRacing coming your way later on this afternoon. And I will say, it is the closest finals in the World Cup of iRacing you will ever see. On paper, but who knows what it'll be like in reality. We're going to step aside for a few moments here, ladies and gentlemen, on RaceSport TV and on iRacing Live. When we come back, it'll be myself, Paul, Johnny, and Jake talking about the final round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, what drivers need to do, and also, can Kroenke make it 12 out of 12? We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here to Circuit of the Americas. There is the current championship standings from P number 21 down to P number 30. We're talking about this off air, and well, the thing is, Johnny, there are a couple of drivers who are here mainly to make sure they punch their ticket into the 2018 World Championship Series of Grand Prix Racing. There are some drivers who are not here today who will fall down the roster, who will either have to relinquish their license or gain it back through the Pro Series of Road Racing, of course, which is here on RaceSport TV and on iRacing Live.
Yeah, perfect. Good to have it back here on RaceSport TV. I think, the likes of Graham Carroll, Daniel Bieder, they're on the bubble to dropping outside the top 30. Meglet, Schilbrink, Oliveira, Alex Bergeron, they're outside the top 30 looking for a spot in. They do not want to waste their off-season doing the Pro Series. Although it is good practice, it's good testing, but it's just the sheer... You get so mentally fatigued doing this, Will, as a sim racer. So you want to avoid doing the Pro Series, and you want to be able to practice and develop and take some time off without the pressure of having to get a license with a tougher series. And don't forget, there are going to be even stronger drivers coming through that have never had a World Championship license too. So it's not like you're just competing against other people who've missed out. You're competing against people who could potentially be top 5, top 10 drivers next year.
And over the years, Sean, we have seen drivers who have not won a race. People like Mo Garfilo, who have never won a race in either the Pro Series or the World Championship Series. He's scored a pole position, of course, but has never won a race, who has always looked for that opportunity. There are some drivers who will go into that Pro Series, who we've never seen before, who will win out and will be thinking, oh my word, we need to keep an eye out on this guy. But the thing is, what we've noticed is the guys that get in through the Pro Series of road racing will get top 10s, have not yet really competed for wins.
Yeah, it varies. Vaz won a couple races in the Pro Series a couple of years ago, so he's never been really a driver to threaten for race wins in the World Championship here. So it depends, really. And Mogar as well, very quick driver. Everybody loves him. Everybody knows him. And he's a driver who's been on pole here before in Suzuka in 2016 in the World Championship. But yeah, I don't know. I was expecting them to do a bit better for the final round, considering he's in P26 in the championship. He's got some, he's not entirely cemented for a license yet. It's mathematically possible for the likes of Meglich and Ulbrink to climb up above him. Peter Berryman, good to see him back. He's in P9, and I'm a bit disappointed. It's funny with his qualifying time. He did have pole position at Silverstone, don't forget. So we do expect more out of Peter.
Here's the question, though. I'm going to head on over to Jake, because he is the guy with all the stats and all the opinions. Who is the one guy, Jake, who deserves a win in either the Pro Series of Road Racing or the World Championship Grand Prix Series? One driver.
Who deserves it? Now, that's a very, very big question, because a lot of drivers you feel have the pace to deserve a victory, but other drivers don't necessarily get themselves into that position. So I'm going to say Kazuki Umeshima deserves a race victory at some stage. You always hark back to Montreal and how he was however many laps away from the finish, smacks the wall of champions, and in theory, that means he's going to be a champion in the future, but that's not necessarily going to be the case. I think Umeshima's been very consistent this year. Remember, he's P7 in the championship without a top 5 this season. That's how consistent Umeshima has been. But if he just gets the pace sorted at Radicals Online, which are looking... Excuse me, voice there, goodness me, that is trying to get themselves over to being a solely Formula 1 based team, I think Radicals will improve on next season. I think that Umeshima will challenge a little bit more towards the front, and arguably, if he can rekindle some of that form he had back in the Williams FW31, Kazuki Umeshima could very handily take a race victory, and he has proven he's got the pace to do so.
But does Umeshima need to move to the likes of a kind of Sim Sports, for example, to get that victory, or can he do it at Radicals?
It's difficult to say, because Kazuki Umeshima falls in that category of being Club Asia and one of the only few real Japanese talents that we've seen in sim racing. And the issue that he's got is the moment that he goes away from Yuta Saito, Kazuki Umeshima becomes an outsider, and it's always important that you have a compatriot with you, someone who speaks your language. It doesn't matter what team you're in. If Kazuki Umeshima moves teams, yes, he'll be with quicker setups, but will he be comfortable at that team? I doubt he will. I think Radicals is the best place for Umeshima right now, unless Yuta Saito goes with him.
And that's actually one of the bigger questions here, Paul, as we talk about that for a moment, because we are into the silly season already of people potentially moving teams, moving circumstances. And again, you and I have both been team owners over the years. We both know the thing that makes a team work is dynamics. So when people like Redline, people like Radicals, people like kind of sim sports, and we've got to include into that core sim racing, core motorsports, they will have to think about not only is this a quick driver, but can they fit into our team dynamic?
Well, this is it. I mean, if you've got a team that's working well together as a unit and working well, and you get one person who maybe disrupts that sort of dynamic that you have there in that team, it can really put off everybody in the team, and you're not quite up to the level that you would have been beforehand. The same can be said about a driver who's maybe going into a new team and doesn't quite gel with everybody and doesn't really get on, maybe not get on with is not the right phrase, but really sort of be cohesive in that team, and it just doesn't quite work out. We've seen it so many times in sim racing, we've seen it so many times in racing, say like in Formula 1 for example. There's been plenty of times where people have gone into a team and they've just not quite sort of been able to get the best out of themselves, or the team's not been able to get the best out of them, and it's all about finding the right person. So for some teams it may not be the absolute quickest person on hot lap pace, but if you get a team that works well together who are relatively quick anyway, they'll just push themselves on just that extra few tenths and maybe take themselves up to that level that they need to be at.
And John, on the flip side of that, you have the opportunities in some ways of getting a star driver who actually upsets the dynamic of the entire team. I will talk again from personal experience. I've had situations when you've had people who are fantastic. They can win Indy 500s, they can do whatever they want to do, but you add them to a team and it does upset the balance of the team overall. And actually, to turn that into kind of sim sports, that's a quandary they had back in the end of 2014. And whenever they had that quandary and they figured it out, kind of sim sports are a better team now back than they were Free-ID Gaming.
Yeah, it's always an interesting element. I mean, you're never going to win a race without talent and speed. But the ironic thing is that there are some guys who do ruin the culture of the team, and sim racing is a team sport, so you do have to look out for that. And I've been with drivers who are, as you mentioned, are drivers that ruin the culture of the team, and it's not pleasant. It does ruin the fun. You're here to enjoy yourself. Sim racing isn't supposed to be people's lives. It's a hobby for 99% of people out there, and you're not here to hate yourself every day when you show up to race. So if you're a driver, you want to come and show up with people that you enjoy working with. I hate when a teammate's always screaming at another teammate for passing him on the racetrack or something. Who cares? Let him pass you. You weren't quick enough in the first place to defend him, so don't complain in the first place. I'm having a shot at a past teammate, as you can tell, Will, just based on experience. But
I've had the exact same thing happen to me this season, so I know all about that. So.
I know, but it's just so stupid. Like, we had a season that was going so well, and then halfway through we had a teammate just shouting at another one for passing him, and I'm like, you're up in the championship by 50 points. Who cares? And those are the drivers that ruin the fun and ruin the culture, and the best way to do it is just to get rid of them. That's the best thing to do. And but if they're talented, do you want to live and hate yourself every day and win a world championship? That's a decision you have to make.
Indeed so, but we have got championships already decided. We've also got stories to unfold. We've got stories still to make here in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. We will step aside for a few moments here on RaceSport TV and on iRacing Live, and when we come back, it'll be time for the final round of the 2017 World Championship Grand Prix Series. We'll be back in a few moments' time here on RaceSport TV and on iRacing Live.
Showing green. Green, green, green.
Once more, and finally, one more time, into the breach. It's the final round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series here on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. Wolverton, Jonathan Simone, a special comment from Jake Sparry over the course of this broadcast. So, we are in a situation now We are into the final round of the championship here, Johnny, but Martin Kroenke may well be the champion, but we still got many stories still to unpack.
Yep, welcome everybody. It's time for the race. 56 laps coming up, and 56 laps for drivers of pain who are fighting for top 10 spots in those final prizes that are being handed out in the championship, as well as drivers going for the licenses for next year. So you're looking at the top 30 benchmark around there, and those top 30 will achieve a World Championship license for 2018. So definitely something to look out for there. But some very strong teams at the moment today. We know Coanda strong as usual. Apex Racing UK, very good. No Gregor Hutu racing today, unfortunately, but a few other Redline drivers to represent. A Freek Schottors, Alexiu Siakala, Bono House, Graham Carroll, who qualify and are scattered all over the grid as well. They're also missing a man named Ollie Pakula, Will, who luckily has also cemented his name into the World Championship for next year.
Indeed. So, yeah, there's a grid coming up on your screen then. But the thing is, that's worth noting there, Jake, is the fact that Marcus Jensen, P number 2 on the grid here today.
Marcus Jensen is undoubtedly a fantastic young talent, and if he gets everything right that we know that he can, and after what was a season where he went very much under the radar through the Road Pro Series, even though that he did score a couple of key victories, Marcus Jensen has the ability to surprise a lot of people. He reminds me very much of a young Nico Rosberg, in the sense that you never thought that Rosberg had the potential to make it, but every now and then he would surprise you with some very good qualifying and some very good results. You talk about those Williams days with Rosberg and how good he was. Marcus Jensen in that similar sort of patch.
It's a long race here today at Circuit of the Americas. It is 3.3 miles in length, almost 3.4 miles in length, 65 degrees air temperature, 28% humidity, 21 degrees wind speed, and all those mean, basically, Johnny, is that we are going to have crosswinds, we are going to have low temperatures here today, and that makes life hard for drivers in those first couple of laps.
Yeah, it definitely will, especially heating up the tires for the first sector. But it's also, it's not going to change our strategy. It's going to be a one-stop race coming up. The pit window opens from lap 21 onwards, so look out for that as usual. And it's just going to make it easier in terms of degradation, so drivers aren't going to struggle. Two-stop never ever going to be considered, even if it's going to be very hot. I think that's something I'd like to see changed for next season, and something a lot of drivers have protested for very politely and silently.
Here's the question, Jake. Will Martin Kroenke make it 12 out of 12?
Yes. That's
Johnny?
what I need to say.
Yeah, I think he can. You know, he's from pole position. He's up, 3/10, and this is basically a circuit Coanda's done really well at over the past few years. So I see no reason for it not to happen.
It's one of those funny things. If you're running an Xbox, for example, game, and you got 100% win victory, that'll be a little achievement award for you. But this is not just an achievement award. This is validation that Martin Kroenke is one of, if not the best sim racers in the entire world. And I will say one thing. He's only just gone on track, though we can see him right now. On track, heading himself towards the start-finish line on a practice lap. 5 seconds to go. Martin Kroenke moves himself to the top of the timing stance in practice. He doesn't even need to do that. I was expecting him to do a practice run there, but Martin Kroenke is looking to do everything in this final round of the championship. So, qualifications are over, practice is over. Now it's talking about the race and the race only. There are your top 12 drivers on your screen once again. Martin Kroenke, Coanda Sim Sports, 134.718. Marcus Jensen for Apex Racing UK alongside him. Then Freek Schottors, 14 Redline, and Coanda Sim Sports, Mitchell de Jong in 4th place. Matt Backham in P number 5, Alexiu Siakala in 6th, Marty Piatella in 7th, and Jamie Fluke in 8th place. Running at the top 10 is Peter Barriman and Ilka Happala, with Kevin Ellis Jr. and Bono House rounding out your top 12. We'll talk about Bono House because he had a really poor qualifying in terms of this race, and that will be a big difference maker for him. Of course, the championship's over, but Bono House in P number 12 might mean he might be in some issues here today. Drivers are lined up on the grid right now. They're getting ready to go racing here at Circuit of the Americas, final round of the season. Green flag in the air. Here we go. As in towards turn number one. One of the Commander cars goes diving down towards turn number one. Are we going to get them all through that first corner? The answer is going to be yes for the time being. All the midfield goes through there. All the backfield goes through there, Johnny. Oh, we're going to spin up the rear. But for the most part, everyone is okay.
Yeah, there was a bit of contact there with Alexei Siakala and Jamie Fluke heading into turn number 4, and it almost ended terribly for both of them. There was some severe contact, I think, but I'm surprised they're still keeping it in a straight line. Jensen, though, almost a second behind Martin Kroenke already. We have a spin up. It's Kevin Ellis Jr.
Yeah, so Kevin Ellis Jr. there making himself a spin down in the exit of sector number 1 here. Let's get a replay of that one for you, and on board with Kevin Ellis Jr. right now in the Apex Racing UK machine. Exit of sector number 1 technically ends here, and the thing is, he's just got past Mabona House, and what I would say that is kind of, he got himself into a situation, he was offline on the dirty side of the racetrack there, Johnny, and he just put the power down far too early.
Yeah, exactly, and there's a bit of a dip on the apex too in terms of the elevation, so that also gave him that big oversteer. So you're right, Will, it's just a combination of so many elements going wrong for him, and he's all the way down the back of the pack. Luckily, no damage though for Kevin Ellis Jr. from that spin, and they end the first lap. And Kroenke already broken the DRS zone away. Has Alexei Siakala spun? No, he's in the pit lane. Maybe a penalty for Alexei Siakala.
Yeah, for Alexei Siakala. Live timing and scoring, ladies and gentlemen, is available here in the final round of the World Championship Grand Prix Series. Just visit racesport.tv/timing and you can get all the maneuvers here in this event. But for Martin Kroenke, he's already got himself a 1.4 second advantage over Marcus Jensen. Now, quite often at this stage of the race, we talk about here, Johnny, the fact that Apex Racing UK, very good in qualifying, very good at the start. Will they be able to maintain that gap over the course of the motor race? Because Marcus Jensen right now has Freight Shawhorse right behind him.
Yeah, exactly. So they have to look out for that. I mean, Mitchell de Jong is in P4, stuck behind Mac Backham, who had a rocket of a start. Mac Backham went screaming into turn 1. I think he forced Mitchell off as well, off the racetrack. Mitchell quite spatially aware. And I think Mitchell anyway, if he was behind Marcus, or if he was in front of Marcus, would he be on the same pace as Martin Kroenke at this stage of the race? We're looking early into it, Will, though, so it's something to just consider a little bit. Is Bonnerhaus and Anton Higelin battling? Higelin's had a monster start as well, from 14th, currently in the top 10. He's currently 9th.
But this has been the thing all season long, Johnny, because of the fact that Martin Kroenke, yes, he is the fastest driver, the best driver in the World Championship Grand Prix Series, but he's also been the luckiest driver. Over the start-finish line, he's got himself a 1.5 second advantage there over Marcus Jensen, but he's not put a foot wrong, but also he's not allowed other drivers to really close up on him. The fact that Marcus Jensen is in P number 2 helps Martin Kroenke substantially.
Yeah, it does. It does. But as you said, drivers have had 11 chances already to beat him. They haven't. This is the 12th time. There's no more excuses. And I think Jensen as well, I mean, look at his pace. He was able to put that car in P2, and we don't know how well his race pace is going to be. I mean, Backham's still 6/10 behind. We know that Backham is going to have DRS, though, as they come towards the turn 11 braking zone. You can see how the track widens on the apex. It's so blind there as well. I sort of wish there was a bollard on the apex of turn 11 to help aid the drivers turning into the corner. Backham flicks on DRS, and he's going to gain more and more time as he screams all the way up to 328 kilometers an hour, and that's where the Coanda SimSport car starts to I mean, that's it. 328. I was expecting a bit more straight line speed for them.
Well, this goes back to the top 2 teams, Team Redline and Coanda SimSport. They design their cars to work in clean air. They do not design their cars like an iNEX Racing team, like Radicals Online, like an Apex Racing UK team, to work in traffic. And that's the thing here. We've seen it over the 3-4 years we commentated the series here, Johnny, that this kind of SimSport team, they've got to find a way past because otherwise Apex Racing UK might well get that second place in towards pit road. But a good run out of then the final corner for both of those drivers. But again, Beckham 4 turns back in towards turn number 1.
Yeah, and I love the wide apex there into turn 1. Beckham has a look. He loves the inside line there. He took it at the start of the race, and he's a very aggressive driver, we know that, for all the right reasons too, and the wrong reasons. So it's a hit and miss with Max sometimes, but he's got a real good shot here at P2 as they head through the first sector. This is Dirty Air Central. It's so hard to get the front end dialed in when you're stuck behind another car. This is where Kevin Ellis Jr. lost it through turn number 9, through 10, easy, full throttle. Ease the steering wheel out so you don't scrub off too much speed, and there you can see there Marcus Jensen misses the apex slightly at turn 11, Will, and that's going to help Mac Beckham here. He's slightly closer than he was last time around.
Hashtag turn number 12. Matt Beckham pulls down to the inside, looks for second place. Will he get it? Well, he's looking for it. He gets it. Matt Beckham, well, he almost gets it there, side by side then, through turn 13, through turn number 14. Beckham is still alongside into turn number 15, and Beckham will have the position there out of the complex, and that is exactly what you need to do. Now is the commander 1 and 2 here, Johnny.
Yeah, brilliant pass, and very smart from Mitchell de Jong behind. He was also threatening there heading into turn 16, the slow left-hander, but he couldn't capitalize on it. So Marcus Jensen has to watch out for yet another Coanda Sim Sports car, as now they all have DRS across the main straight. Beckham doesn't. He has to go defensive. Back onto the racing line, but all credit to Mac. Brilliant pass. Have a look at Frank Schotthaus joining the back of this line.
Can I just say already, can you imagine if you get a Coanda 1, 2, 3 in this race, the time that Martin Kroenke equals the record for the amount of wins in a row in the World Championship Grand Prix Series? That elevates, in my opinion, Coanda Sim Sports to the top of the sim racing mountain.
Yeah, that's yeah, not a lot of people would want to see that apart from Coanda, so it certainly could happen today. Although Frake's here to ruin the party, and what a team to ruin the party as well. Team Redline, they certainly are the last people to want to see that happen. So they head towards the turn 11 corner now, and as always, Beckham is going defensive early on the straight, so he's definitely aware that Marcus can repass him, although Marcus is 8/10 behind. So I think at the moment, Apex actually has a slower top end speed at the end of the straight in a speed trap than Coanda. So very interesting there, Will.
Yeah, and Jake, we've seen this before. The fact that Apex have a good straight line speed in certain circumstances, but a slow straight line speed when it's battling. This is where Apex has lost positions all year long. They cannot defend in the first 10 laps.
They can't, and the issue that Apex definitely have is the fact that they struggle with having a high drag setup. They have a situation where they are very good in tow, but they're not very good in terms of keeping vehicles behind. Now, that may be something they have to go back to the drawing board and work on, but the thing they've got to be careful about here is their overall race strategy. If you are slower, do you maybe sacrifice those positions early to likes of de Jong and Schotthaus, knowing they're going to push and try and get back to Mac Beckham, and then hope that your strategy prevails in the end? I think that's what Marcus Jensen's got to be careful about, because the more he has to defend, the more he loses overall time, and the more that he's going to drop back. He's now 4.5 seconds back on your race leader.
And yeah, Johnny, that's the thing. When does the race position become an overall position? When do you realise that you've got to let someone go and actually relinquish a race position? Because for Jensen, that could be the situation in about 2-3 laps time.
Well, we'll see. I mean, he's not really losing any time at the moment. You know, he's not really overly aggressively defending, and I think he's fine. You know, it's up to Mitchell to get past, and I think if Mitchell gets past, it's all about not losing too much time if you're Marcus Jensen, so just letting him through, doing the old tire conservation strategy. Here's Mitchell. He's got a shot on his straight. This should be a simple pass. Let's see if Marcus defends. Oh, at the end of the straight there, Marcus not going defensive, quite confident of his line. And there you go. He's not losing any time. I think he's fine.
For the time being, at least it is. Yeah, but now what you've done is you backed up Frank Schotthaus, Martin Piatella into that battle. Martin Piatella, we have to say here, Johnny, he's having one of the better races of his season. We talked about Martin Piatella being the top 10 guy, but he's in P number 6 already in this event. right behind that train of drivers of Rachel Horst, Mitchell de Jong, and also Marcus Jensen. So Marcus Piatella could be in for a top 5 finish easily here today.
Yeah, definitely. He's on the back of this train too, so if things go sour, he's ready to capitalize. Heading into turn 1 is that train in front. Look how close Mitchell de Jong is on Marcus Jensen. I think he might get it done this lap too, as long as he can stay close in this first sector. That's so difficult. Those orange sausage curbs that throw the car off. You can see how dialed in Jensen looks without dirty air, and de Jong's having to just really push that car to the limit. He's taking tighter lines as well compared to Jensen, who's opening the car up more on the exit and entry. Here they come through 10. This is a corner into the turn 11 braking zone where you see needs so much stability on the braking, and here they go. Can Mitchell do it this time around? It's going to be tough.
Not quite close enough there for Mitchell de Jong. He comes into the turn number 12 and not able quite to get himself in the position he needs. He stays behind the driver of Marcus Jensen through 13, 14. Oh, look at that one. Marcus Jensen pushes wide down at turn number 16, but cannot find an opportunity, does Mitchell de Jong, to move himself up into the 3rd position. So we stay as we are for the time being, but that was the closest we've seen there for a position change there, Johnny.
Yeah, very close. Mitchell threatened Marcus there, remember, in the battle with Mac Backham earlier. So you can see Backham up the road now, 2 seconds. And this is definitely costing Mitchell time. I don't think Marcus Jensen's not as slow, by the way, as we're making him out to be. He's still quick. It's just that these drivers are very much quicker than him. And that turn 1 apex there, de Jong almost T-burning Marcus. Those drivers behind of Schotthorst, Piatella, they have to be ready to pounce. And so into that section after turn 12 and into that very tight turn 13 to turn 16 complex, that's where Schotthorst and Piatella need to stay close and need to make a pass on Jensen, because that's when he's vulnerable.
It's interesting, actually, looking on board of Mitchell de Jong, that Marcus Jensen takes a very different line through sector number 1. And that means that he gets a different line in towards turn number 11. A better line, actually, I would say that for time by Mitchell de Jong, but he does not get the overspeed. He does not get the advantage heading himself out of turn number 11. He is currently 4 tenths of a second back, 3 tenths of a second back, down to 2, down to 1, and he cannot make himself past. Or Jake, we've seen this so many times here in not only the World Championship Series, but also in McLaren's World's Fastest Gamer. You almost have to give a little bit to get a little bit here.
Yeah, you do. Look at that again here from de Jong, trying to go down to the inside here of Marcus Jensen. Unable to make that happen. That's the wide line we've been seeing from Marcus Jensen, trying to make things happen. But what we are seeing is Mitchell de Jong maybe hoping to wait to try and find that perfect move. You've got to be within 3 tenths of a second to have a chance. And well, Mitchell de Jong, he has been very good at trying to poke and prod and find a way past Marcus Jensen. This is a really tough trial for the youngster from Apex Racing UK, but for Mitchell de Jong, yes, he does have to be a little bit closer to that opening sector. I wonder whether Jensen's vehicle is more set up to be very good in that opening section.
And the thing is as well, Johnny, we saw there that side-by-side for a moment down in the 3rd sector. I would argue that the Apex Racing UK machine right now is in pure defensive mode, because you look at the gap between himself and Matt Backham, it's already up to 2.8 seconds. But we have to also consider the fact that this is what we know from Apex Racing UK. They are strong at the start of a motor race.
Yeah, definitely are. They are strong in qualifying too, and they definitely need to work on their race pace. But you know what? Marcus Jensen looks good. It's just that these drivers all look better than him. And that's the issue he's facing at the moment. But brilliant defensive driving. I think even better attacking by Mitchell de Jong, catching him unaware. Ooh. Now watch de Jong. This is turn 12. Watch him through turn 13. He's going to send this car deep into the braking zone, as he does there. Gets close to Marcus Jensen. Takes a different approach this time around. Is he going to go for the inside? Yes, he is. Oh. Jensen gives him space. Here they go.
Side by side for the moment there. Marcus Jensen actually does get it there. So you move yourself, Matt Backham, up into P number 2. That was a fantastic maneuver by actually Mitchell de Jong. I say that back there. Mitchell de Jong gets a fantastic maneuver there. That deserves a replay, because I will say, Johnny, that wasn't anything apart from a fantastically executed pass.
Yeah, exactly. He tested the grip the lap earlier too, and then boom, he goes right up the inside and snatches that position away from Marcus, who's now vulnerable to Freek Schotters and Piatella behind. 10 out of 10 pass from Mitchell de Jong. He set it up perfectly, and it was all done from the... He pretty much planned it laps earlier. It just took a few laps to get it done.
Yeah, replay then on board of Mitchell de Jong from the rear. You can see how that car works himself. In fact, we're going to have a look from our aerial coverage brought to you by And One Design. There we are. There's the acceleration there, Jake. The acceleration for that Coanda car. That's what got the position there.
I disagree with you actually there, Will. I thought it was a mistake from Marcus Jensen. He tracked a little bit too wide coming out of the corner, got himself stuck on the AstroTurf on the exit because a couple of laps ago they were side by side and Jensen on that tarmac was able to defend on the outside to keep himself going forward. I think it was a mistake on Jensen's part more rather than the brilliance from Mitchell de Jong.
But also at this racetrack, the AstroTurf and the kind of like asphalt on the outside of the corners, they are always seen as part of the racing line here, Johnny, because this racetrack, if you look at it from above, it is a load of asphalt.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm not going to talk about the nicknames they got for this circuit, but that's
car
one
park.
of the things. Car parks is one of them, yeah. Well, there's no car parks on the racing line, which is good. Otherwise, you'll be off and crashing into them, just as Marcus Jensen went off there between turns 19 and 20. He's gotten off there a few times, by the way, this race, so he definitely has to be careful about his off tracks he picks up. But talking about what you just said, I think if it's grippy out there, you might as well use it, as long as you don't get a penalty. By the way, spin for Daniel Arendt.
So Daniel Arendt has a spin there here today, but also we have got to consider the fact that a lot of these drivers here today are going to be thinking about penalties because, Jake, this is, I would argue, the biggest penalty hitter in the entire series.
Exactly, and if it happens here and you have to take a penalty, pretty sure, if I remember correctly, Will, it carries on into the next season?
Yes. Sorry, I just saw Daniel Arendt in there, and that was into pit road, off you go. You've done enough, but carry on.
Yeah, but you look at the situation. If you get a penalty now and it carries on into next season, even if you don't even make it in qualification for next season, that surely carries on to when you next come back into the World Championship. Yeah. That's a massive, massive thing to have over your shoulders whenever you want to come back. So when you get that big penalty, you've got to be careful about where you occur at this final race. It is going to be about being as tight and as effective as you can without running off too wide or causing errors.
Okay, how do we talk about this, Johnny? Coanda 1, 2, 3. Kroenke leads away. We know that by 5.1 seconds over Matt Backham. Backham to the driver of Mitchell de Jong is 3 seconds right now, but Coanda 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
This is almost as big as the fact that Kroenke has the opportunity to hit Hutu's record for most wins in a row because Coanda 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Coanda's just asserting their dominance as usual. Marcus Jensen still helping out as well.
Oh, got a spin by Saito.
Yeah, I just saw that as well on the timing sheets. Hopefully his car's okay. That's a corner that's caught out Daniel Arendt too, Will, isn't it? It's
yes,
turn
it
19 and 20. So, and that's could catch out Marcus Jensen. He's made a couple of mistakes there twice. But going back to the Coanda point, definitely looks possible at the moment. Let's wait for that pit window on lap 21, though.
I always think that some of these drivers here, Johnny, are trying to take a tighter line into turn number 19 because they know the fact that they cannot cut the outside curb there. And as a consequence of that, they are spinning. Yuta Saito now down in P number 18.
Yeah, and the difficult thing about turn 19 is that it's blind. And so there's no real reference point at this circuit for it. You try to use the outside line as a reference point to turn in left, but it's so difficult. So I think having a bollard there on the apex really helps, but such a difficult corner when you can't actually see the apex until you're running over and damaging the car over the anti-cut curb. So that can catch out drivers a lot, and it definitely can end races and has ended races, as we saw with Daniel Arendt.
So here are the movers and shakers in this event so far, and you will notice the fact that Martin Kroenke, of course, starting in P number 1, is leading in P number 1 right now. But behind that, backing up 3 places in this event from P number 5 to P number 2. You've also got Anton Hegelin up 6 places here today. And well, Anton Hegelin is one of those drivers actually, Johnny, we expect to move up, but he's now up into P number 8 in this race, and he's embroiled in a very nice battle.
Yeah, he is. And I think this is Hegelin's best season yet. You know, regardless of what happens today, he's quietly impressed. At least me. You know, I don't know about anybody else, but he's had a great season. He's a good young fellow, and the Frenchman in another season in Apex Racing UK. Who knows what next season holds for him, but he's definitely doing well. He's in P8 again. I don't know if he's ever going to make that step up to being a top 5 driver that consistently finishes in that top 5 range, but if he puts his mind to it, he might find a solution. I mean, Graham Carroll is... has Graham Carroll been on the podium? Yeah, he has. So
He has.
That was a stupid question, by the way. Graham Carroll, definitely not as good as Graham Carroll, but I think Anton Hegelin has the potential to be good. But as I said, this isn't everyone's full-time job. You know, can everybody put in 4 or 5 hours to practice every day? Hegelin studies engineering, doesn't he?
Yeah,
I don't think he has any time to even think about life.
That's the thing, actually, for the mid-pack teams, because we are lap 13 of 56, so the final round of the championship, and some of these guys are going to say, do I even bother to do this next year? Because of the fact, Johnny, because they have got other lives, and we've got to remember this. We are talking about esports right now. We are talking about esports and the fact that some drivers do not have the time in their real life to talk about life, university, all these other things, and then esports on top of that.
Yeah, but here's an argument I want to put out there as well. So related to your point, everybody always talks about that because it's about the money and how they want to do this as their job. I don't look at it in the money sense. I look at it in the sense where if we can pay these drivers to not have to work another job, then we're going to see better talent, better racing, and more entertainment as a result of it. And that's why you do that. You don't do it just so these drivers don't have to go and show up to the local milk bar for 9 hours on the Monday. But, I mean, that's the way I look at it. So it's something where it is growing, not growing as much as I hoped over the past few years, but we're making a difference. I'm passionate about it. I'm sure I'll contribute to anything that we need to make this sport or e-sport better.
Master Piatella, by the way, is embroiled in the battle of Peter Berman. The gap is 6 tenths of a second. I will say the same thing. It's like esports, the way it is in terms of sim racing, is a very weird situation right now. And like, yes, you have got McLaren World's Fastest Game, which I think is fantastic right now for the industry. But what about the rest of them? The drivers that do not get into McLaren's World's Fastest Game are, who are engineers, who are looking to move themselves forwards. And actually, we've got to consider the fact that this is a growing industry. It's been growing for the last 3 years. It will grow for the years to come as well. Master Piatella, we're just talking about, for example, he's been a part of the World Championship Grand Prix Series from pretty much day one, Johnny.
Yeah, I know. He's an old fellow. Well, not really. He's just experienced. Is experience like a euphemism for calling someone old?
Yes.
We're going to battle, by the way. Piatella's alongside Berryman here.
Yeah, he's side by side of him. And will he get the line in towards... yes, he does.
Goodness me, were you clenching your... I don't know what you were clenching there. I was clenching a whole lot of body parts through that corner, but that was very close.
Replay coming up on board with Peter Berryman. And again, it's another situation there, Jake, of Apex Racing UK losing out almost to the team of kind of Sim Sports. But that was a good, big move there by Peter Berryman and Apex Racing UK. They got themselves alongside, then couldn't make it work.
Yeah, it didn't quite happen for Peter Berryman there. He was thinking about it with Martin Piatella, but it just didn't happen. Berryman has looked very, very astute right now in this event, and he'll go down to the inside here into turn 12. And, well, oh my goodness, Piatella half spin, too aggressive on the power, and loses the position definitely. So Berryman doing a good job to make that position. But I want to look further down, Will. I want to keep an eye on Tomo Meglic in the 95 because he's 18th. And he's catching on the next two in front, Prato and Saito. Meglic is having a fantastic drive for Tomo Meglic.
Yes, having a fantastic drive here. So here's the replay first of all, then Peter Berryman getting the position over the driver of Martin Piatella. Not Martin Piatella. Yeah, it is Martin Piatella. Let's take that back. Pit setup, then down into P number 7. Berriman up into P number 6. And this is the thing about Apex Racing UK. They have been strong at points this season here, Jake. But their overall team speed has been lacking, and that's the whole thing. They have had some fantastic races, and Berriman would say, alongside Graham Carroll, is really a star driver. But I want to ask the question, coming into this year, Graham Carroll said, I want to win races or do nothing. Has he been true to that word? Because Graham Carroll right now is not doing well, and Peter Berriman for Apex Racing UK is only in P number 6.
Well, Graham Carroll's got a lot on his plate right now that he's trying to have to deal with. He's trying to qualify for different series here and there and try and help with Redline Aim. And the fact that he's changed teams as well, he said that he wanted to do it with Apex first and foremost. So there's a big decider on whether he's either been true to his word or not. He said he wanted to do it with Apex. He moved to Team Redline. So something there, maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. But I think that for Graham Carroll, it's a year of building up again. He's got to now work out what it is that he wants to do. It's a team which holds some of the greatest talent and also has the best real-world application of any sim racer in the world today. That's what Graham Carroll has to be careful of, and I think Peter Berriman needs to be careful about stepping up to the mantle, otherwise Apex will become Jensen's playground.
So essentially what you're saying is that Graham Carroll actually did his bit in terms of handing the team over, but it's the case now of who takes over. I mean, we know that Alex Simpson's fantastic as a team manager, but for Apex Racing UK, they've had fantastic positions this year. But have they got enough to move forward to 2018?
Have they got enough to move forward to 2018 Apex? Yes. They have to be careful though on what they do, because they had a mass exodus throughout the winter and into the start of the World Championship this year. So in terms of Apex, they've got to be careful about who they pick and choose as drivers. I think they are very safe with the core group that they've got and developing that talent that they already have in front of them. I think that they have a very good group that can challenge and go forward. If they work on Marcus Jensen, if they get Marcus Jensen up to speed, remember, he's one of those drivers who's in that 16-17 bracket that can't do world's fastest gamer. He's got the next 20 years in front of him if he wants to, and he could be a star that takes titles.
There is the driver of Graham Carroll right now, currently P number 11 here in this event today. And well, Johnny, P number 11 for Graham Carroll is not, in his own head, not ours, but in his own head, not acceptable.
Yeah, I don't want to bring this excuse for every driver that does terribly, but I don't really think he's practiced that much, because this is by far not the Graham Carroll we know or see or have gotten to know over the past couple of years. He's one of the world's best sim racers for sure, and he's made very good friends throughout not just the sim racing scene, but throughout the real racing scene too. And it goes to show, Will, that well, at least sim racing itself can bring you closer to those drivers who are very popular amongst the real world racing scene.
I would argue the question, again, we're in the final round of the championship, pit stops aren't yet happening upon us, so I'm going to ask the question, would Redline take Apex almost like a Scuderia Rosso to a Red Bull here?
Yeah, are you talking about taking them as like a... In what sense?
Not, I don't want to say the word beating, because let's not forget the first Red Bull winning car was a Scuderia Rosso over Red Bull. But could Team Redline and Apex Racing UK almost make an ABC team? You've got yourself Team Redline, then you got yourself Apex Racing UK, then you got yourself the Apex Academy. Could you make the analogy between those three teams?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I certainly hope they don't ever combine, because half the grid will be those two teams. That's one thing I hope doesn't happen. But I don't think so. I think they both have different ambitions, those two teams. At least knowing what Dom and Alex, each one out of their teams, I don't really think their future vision is on the same track. I think Redline, anyway, they attract the driver, Redline, that it's... I'm not going to say accomplished, but the drivers that really find their way to Team Redline have achieved great results, and they're not just a driver that is there because, oh, they might be good in 3-4 years. They're drivers who have proven themselves, and I think that's what a lot of what you find with Team Redline, whereas Apex really likes to develop the young talent a lot more.
And I'm sure Apex Racing UK and exactly Alex Simpson right now is happy with the fact that Antoine Hagelin is actually above Bonner House right now by 1.5 seconds but of course pit stops are still yet to come. Here is your race leader. It is Martin Kroenke. Martin Kroenke leads by 4.1 seconds over Matt Backham. And well, I'm going to talk to Jake again here, because Jake, this is kind of SimSports. They've done this all season long. Kind of SimSports have put themselves at the front of the field. Yes, they did not do well in the Blancpain GT series, but they are doing fantastically in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix series.
They get their priorities straight. Blancpain was nice for them. It was nice to get that season, that championship, that first win that really elevated them. But it's this World Championship that they've been really focusing on this year. It's about trying to conquer everybody at every given moment. And Martin Kroenke, for the lack of GT racing that he does, he has completely specified himself, aside from Neo, as the Formula One driver, as the driver that everyone now wants to be and has to be. And for all the fans, they think of Martin Kroenke as the very top of sim racing right now. And they've nailed it. COTA have nailed it. 1-2-3 right now. They got a 1-2-3 a couple of races ago. This is the second time in about 4 races, I think, they're trying to go for the 1-2-3. And that sort of dominance we have not seen since Red Line about 4 or 5 years ago. And that shows you how much work COTA has put in. It shows you how much better of a team they are now. But what they have to work on between now and next year is now they have to work on the endurance side if they want to be the tip-top best team in the world. Because yes, you can win this series, but remember, it's not all about that. Teams like Core have endurance locked up, and you wouldn't have thought that 12 months ago. So you've got to be careful about where you push the boat.
And the thing is also for current SimSports, we're talking about the fact that they've almost won the race already. We're at number 20 of 56 here. But Martin Kroenke does lead by 4.1 seconds over Matt Backham. Third place is Mitchell de Jong. Fourth place is Frank Schulhorst. And he is 5 seconds back from a Koala SimSport driver here today, Johnny. So, the question will come back down to Koala SimSports. Have they got enough to move forward into 2018?
Come on, is that a trick question? Yes, they do. They've got a great lineup coming up. And I think, next year, you always want to look for additions to try to make things better, but you don't want to make an addition because it might ruin the team sometimes.
What's worst case scenario? What would happen if Martin Kroenke was to just say, bye? Will they still be race winners?
Yes, I think de Jong's certainly capable of that. If Backham improves a little bit better, he's certainly capable as well. It wouldn't be as consistent, obviously. Definitely be a fight, and who knows? That's a very good question. Is obviously Bonahas is second in the championship. He's never really won a race. Obviously, he's in his rookie season. Could he be the one to step up? Frank Schulhorst always looks strong. Hutu could probably be champion if he kept it together for a whole season. So they would be stuffed, yes. To answer your question, as the pit window opens, by the way.
Yes, the pit window is open right now. And there's Martin Kroenke. We see him on screen right now. He is leading the way by about 4.2 seconds over Matt Backham, his own teammate right now. As the cameras just look behind as they exit section number 1. But for Martin Kroenke, again, you know what? I've talked about this before, Johnny. Martin Kroenke, the thing that got me is he did beat Gregor Hutu once before. It was a Proto GT race when he held on at Spa-Francorchamps, and everyone was saying, oh, he can't do this. He cannot hold the lead. Gregor Hutu's better than him. You know, we haven't seen Gregor Hutu this season so much, but if it was 12 rounds of Gregor Hutu versus Martin Kroenke, it'd be the same story in my opinion.
Yeah, wow. There you go.
Disagree with me. Go on, disagree with me.
I can't disagree with you if I agree with you, but it could be either way. As Ilka Happala now battling with Mishima on the straight. I got you there, Will. We agree on something. I hope that's not as boring as people wanted it to be. It's not ESPN First Take. It is Happala going straight past Kazuki Mishima and up into P12. So good stuff from Ilka, who's another veteran of the series. He's experienced. I don't want to insult him and call him old. He's in P12, as I mentioned. So Pit window open. None of the leaders have gone for it, obviously. We know that. They are going to feed into a mad, scrambling bunch of drivers in traffic. So you always have to wait for the drivers behind to come in first.
There's a replay because Suzuki Machine were losing that position to Ilka Happen. In fact, Ilka Happen are pushing wide down to turn number 12, but actually that worked out well for him. He got the inside line down at turn number 11 and got the overspeed. And that's one of the things we didn't see in World's Fastest Game actually there, Jake. People getting the overspeed and making that work, as we have got Umashima on towards pit road right now.
Yeah, first of the takers, lap 22 of the event on towards, and well, not really did we see that happen, but mind you, they only had 20 laps to make something happen. Out and away Umashima goes, so you've got to make sure that everything works in favour for you, that if an opportunity arises, you go and you make something happen, and that's what Umashima didn't have happen. That's what Happela did have to do in order to make things happen. But Umashima in an okay position right now coming out of pit road, but he's got his teammate Paul Ilbrink in front of him in his own little scrap, looking to get top 30. And as things stand, Paul Ilbrink, it's not often you say this, Will, Paul Ilbrink would be out of a World Championship seat.
And that's huge, because Paul Ilbrink is one of those drivers we call a stalwart in the World Championship Series. Now, worth noting that Umashima was ahead of Dion Verges and Tommy Meglek coming out of pit road. Will the driver of Paul Ilbrink allow Umashima on fresh tires to go past? Well, they got close there on the exit of turn number 11, down towards turn number 12. Yes, indeed, you will see Umashima move ahead of the driver of Paul Ilbrink. That is about team coherency there, more than anything else, as Umashima moves himself up now to P number 18 in this race. Paul Ilbrink realising that there's nothing I can do. And actually, that's one of the things I say often, Jake. Defence sometimes means giving something up to get something back later on.
Exactly, and for Paul Ilbrink, he knows he's on a completely different game to Umashima, who's in his own fight right now, and he's got to be careful. And I think that there may be a bit of ERS trouble for Paul Ilbrink potentially, as he's just dropping miles back right now from Umashima, a second, maybe a second, a little bit more. If he's not careful, it'll allow Dion Verges back into play. I just want to check the lap time, Will. That
It's
Paul
1.3 seconds already. Is that between those two drivers?
That's a 40 lap.
At the end of the straight, you notice he was about 15, 20 kilometers an hour down, so he definitely had ERS trouble, and you can see his light flashing as well at the rear. So this is a typical Radicals problem they have, and just lacking a bit of race pace sometimes. Ever since they've switched to the McLaren, a lot of the issues have been ERS. Some of them have been tyres, who knows, but Ilbrink definitely struggling with his ERS there.
It's on Meglek on pit road. It's a long stop though for Meglek. A very long stop for Meglek. Speeding on pit road, we're going to say on that one. All damage. Actually, damage, yeah, I'm going to say damage. Because that driver has been on for about 23 seconds on pit road. Out and away, new front wing maybe. New sideboard for that driver. But out and away, he will go. Martin Kroenke does still lead the race. Still lead the race here even. On lap number 24 of 56 here. He is leading this race now by a total of 4.4 seconds over Matt Backham. And well, honestly here, Johnny, you know, Backham isn't going to contend for this race win. The question will come, if Kroenke has a really bad pit stop, will Backham give them position back just to make it 12 out of 12?
Well, we'll see. I don't think so. I mean, he's got enough of a buffer. I don't think he'll lose that much time, but who knows? Maybe Backham will be savage and take the victory and steal it. I mean, Backham never won a race too, so I wouldn't give it up.
That is Backham as well. We know him as Backham in that kind of circumstance.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I mean, as much as I love my teammates, if I earned the victory, then I'm going to take it. You know, obviously, as some drivers battling here. Prito, Umashima goes past. We also had Jamie Fluke go around the outside of Bono Haas, who's second in the championship, and clean around the outside of turn 19. Bono was very slow, and I'm not sure if he's had some tire issues now approaching his first pit stop, or maybe the same issues that Paul Ilbrink had, because that car was not quick. And Ilbrink now, he's also in the pit lane. He goes out. Quick pit stop for him, 4 seconds.
Well, here's a replay then. Bono Haas heading himself down and towards turn number 20. And Bono Haas does seem to have some issues here today. Jamie Fluke is ahead of him through turn number 19 and pulling a gap out, actually. And I would say that it doesn't seem as though that Team Redline car, any other Team Redline cars, have got the grip sorted out here today. And that's the thing here, Jake. It's the grip that Team Redline is struggling on.
Yeah, grip is always going to be a massive, massive issue that drivers are going to be having, and having that amount of grip is always about trying to manage it in those late stages. You see just how many vehicles go in, Berryman in, you also see Piatella in, Shothorst in, everyone trying to decide, now's the time to make that stop, get myself going, get myself out. Long stop for Shothorst, and look at that, Piatella gets the jump in the stops, and Shothorst has more work to do.
Indeed so. So there you saw the pit stop there for Martin Piatella, and into a load of traffic as well there, Johnny. That's the big thing. These drivers have been waiting, trying to ride out of traffic, and now they're right into the middle of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 car battle.
Yeah, maybe Shothorst was trying to undercut Mitchell de Jong, but he's had a long pit stop to go with it, and he's now behind Piatella. They're behind Mogar Filio, who hasn't made a stop. So Piatella's the first, well, the driver who's higher up at the moment in the order who's made a pit stop. Everybody else in the top 10 hasn't. They should snatch P10 away from Filio here, and Shothorst has to stay close. Has to be damage limitation from here on in.
He gets close, but he's going to be close enough. He was about half a second behind on the exit of turn number 11. Into turn number 12, he looks down to the inside. Does Frey Shawhorse and cannot get the pass done there. So Frey Shawhorse stays behind the driver on Mogar Filio, and that is really going to be the nail in the coffin, I would say, in terms of Team Redline getting a win, as they almost came together there, Johnny.
Yeah, they almost did. Very strong defensive driving from Mogar Filio. Piatella almost went into the back of him, so did Shothorst. Here they are alongside each other through this section of the racetrack, and Filio is a sitting duck as both drivers scream past. They both miss the apex by a country mile, but it doesn't matter. They pick it up on the exit. By the way, Marcus Jensen's in the pit lane. Let's see where he feeds out, along with all the other apex drivers of Fluke and Higelin.
I'm sorry, but when's the last time you saw someone make a meaningful pass down at turn number 18 of this racetrack? On board of Martin Piatella right now. Starts on the outside, ducks down to the inside there on the Radicals and Line Machine, makes the pass happen, drifts across. Martin Piatella, spatial awareness, that was perfect there, Johnny.
Yeah, good pass, loved it. I mean, he caught Filio, he was a sitting duck, and he caught him unaware too, had no grip, did Mogar. So definitely wise to enter the pit lane as he did that. And I mean, Shothorst, just amazing as well, managed to come his way through. He ended up getting past Piatella through, as we're watching him now through the first sector. The whole first sector there, Shothorst after turn 1, brilliant traction. Piatella took a late apex. Brilliant stuff there as our leader now, Martin Kroenke, enters the pit lane. Mac Backham takes the lead of the race. Mitchell de Jong continues too. So early pit stop for Martin.
Yeah, that's right on board of Frey Shawhorse actually. On board as you see him in towards turn number 1. Dive down to the inside. Got the dive working. Managed to make it stick there through turn number 1, through turn number 2. And then as a consequence of that, actually, Martin Piatella could not keep the advantage. Well, that actually there, Johnny, has compromised the 1-2-3 for Kind of Sim Sports.
Yeah, it has. So we'll see how it goes, though, towards the end of the race. There's still plenty of time here as we're approaching 50% of the distance. As Bono Haas also enters the pit lane. And he's having a miserable day. So, Bono, this isn't the best that we've seen from him. We're hoping that he'd at least get a race win in his rookie season. Definitely won't happen today, I don't think. The quick pit stop for Bono. I think he should feed out. He's with Graham Carroll, his teammate, isn't he, in the pit lane? Let's see where they feed out. Yeah, he's in clean air. Good stuff.
Graham Carroll also in clean air there. That's important for the two Team Redline drivers, because the last thing you want to do is come out of pit road and be in a situation where you are in dirty traffic. And there's Jamie Fluke, Antoine Hecklin, Peter Berryman just ahead of these guys, but just enough ahead that it will not catch them over the course of the next lap, I would think. On board of Bono House right now, and there's a gap between Kazuki Umeshima and Bono House. Umeshima has made a pit stop as well. The gap is 1.8 seconds, but again, I will say, Bono House, Jake, in terms of the season, I said at the start of this year, if you do not get a race win, I'll be disappointed. I am disappointed. He's had podiums Are you disappointed in the same way I am?
No, I'm
Why
not.
not?
I'm not disappointed because for all that Bonner House has been really good, this is his first full season that we see out of him. He's had to be so careful about what he does in this season. He has a massive reputation coming in, and arguably, if you look at the season that he's had, even though that he has been the poster boy for sim racing, winning the likes of the Vegas E-Race, getting that seat in World's Fastest Gamer automatically, he's still up there in position 2 in the championship and doing a very good job because of it. Now, Matt Backham's come out for his stop. He's behind Martin Kroenke, but that's besides the point. I think it has been a good season for Bonner House. I think that he's had some very good results from good P2s and P3s where he has been challenging and has looked quick. The one thing I do think that he needs to work on, though, is qualifying, because that has been his big crux all season.
So if you're talking about the overall, and I'm talking about you right now, in terms of overall performance, second, third place driver, take away the championship standing because he's not been winning races. Is he the second best driver in sim sports right now?
It's difficult to say because although we have seen a lot of very quick drivers come in and come out and get some very good results, it's very difficult to say that he's the second quickest driver in esports. There's a lot of categories that you go around and say you can be the quickest driver here or there. I'd say Frederick Rasmussen is the second quickest driver in esports right now because of the fact that his ability to get 6 pole positions in Blancpain is bar none above anybody else and anybody that can ever go through as Mitchell de Jong dives in from the race lead on towards pit road. But I think that for Bonner House, I think he's a very strong candidate to be inside that top 5. It's very difficult to say straight up and foremost who the top 5 is.
Is it perhaps the fact that he's in the wrong series at the wrong time situation for him then?
If he was here a couple of years earlier, I think he would have set his dominance a little bit easier. I think he would have Gregor Hutu as a mentor when he was at his prime in 2014 or so, and that definitely would have helped him develop in terms of his career. But Martin Kroenke, on the form he's in, which is the form of his life, I have to say right now, I do think it's wrong place, wrong time for Bonner House. Any other year that you put Bonner House in, he's either a world champion or he's fighting to the final race for the title.
But we're forgetting something, is that Bonner House did exactly what Martin Kroenke is really doing right now throughout his whole career. It's just the fact that Bonner House switching to iRacing as a simulator is not easy. And any driver that switched from wherever Bonner has come from, I don't know what that's called, Will, to here. That's what it's called. There you go. I wanted you to say it. So any driver that switched from there to here has really found it difficult. They're not as quick sometimes, and that's for most drivers. It's a different feel, different element, and it doesn't take 12 months to get used to it. It can take longer, and that's where that's been Bonner's biggest thing. It's not that he's lost talent or needs to get better or anything. He's one of the world's best sim racers. This is just a different challenge for him. Talk about Juan Pablo Montoya switching from Formula One, from kart to Formula One to IndyCar. What am I saying?
It's
to
kart
NASCAR.
to Formula One to NASCAR. NASCAR back to IndyCar. Yeah.
NASCAR back to IndyCar. But my point is that he wasn't entirely quick in NASCAR. It's a different element. So it's just about Bono trying to figure this horse out rather than anything else. It's just the driving. That's it.
We have got a driver on pit road right now. That is a driver of Ilkka Happara. Most drivers have made their pit stops right now. Here's Ilkka Happara making his pit stop. Long one for Ilkka Happara. 8.8 seconds, taking tyres. That's a weird one, Johnny.
8.1. That was similar to Frake's pit stop, wasn't it? Around that same margin. So
There was front wing damage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Normally an 8-second pit stop is a front wing change or something like that. So yeah.
You might as well take front tyres at the same. You might as well take tyres at the same time to take a front wing repair. That's what we're trying to say here.
Yeah, you're always going to take tyres though. You never go the whole race, I think, unless you're Joni Tormler at Monza. You'll never go the whole race without taking tyres. That'll be all right. This first sector takes such a beating on both sides of the tyres. There are circuits where it's just the left fronts or the right fronts. This circuit, it's everywhere. The rear traction kills the tyres, the front left and the front right, it's all killed everywhere. So quite a technical circuit.
Well, Martin Kroenke does still lead this event, and here are your top 8 then for you up on your screen. He leads by 6.1 seconds over Matt Backham. Martin Kroenke, of course, looking to equal Gregor Hutu's record of most wins in a row. He has led and won every race of this championship so far, but now he's looking to try and get himself the equal to Gregor Hutu. Mitchell de Jong is in 3rd place. Marcus Jensen in 4th, and we'll have to actually talk about Marcus Jensen here, Johnny, because Apex Racing in the UK, they have had the consistency of fading away. But Marcus Jensen right now, after pit stops, yes, he's 6 seconds back from Mitchell de Jong, but he's also 3 seconds ahead of Freek Schulhorst.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from Marcus. He never finished 4th. He's only finished 5th twice at Spa and Suzuka, so this will be his career best finish if he can get it done. He can get the job done here, but he's got Freek Schulhorst to contend with. Brilliant stuff from Marcus Jensen. And they've worked for it. The entire Apex team, all of them, all season, they've been trying to prove people wrong, especially with all the controversy they had of using all these applications to help them drive and all that kind of stuff. And they've had a bit of a chip on their shoulder, haven't they? And they actually got better after that whole dilemma. Yeah, that's the funny thing. Everyone's like, let's have a look at the teams when they ban these third-party software. Who's going to get slower? And Apex, the most accused, actually got quicker, and they've proven everyone wrong. So a team with a chip on their shoulder, and I'm looking forward to them actually getting a break. You know, that's how hard they worked. Getting a break this offseason and coming better in 2018.
I had a really interesting chat with Dom Duhan, for example, from Team Redline. And he said the reason why these teams are so starts, and again, Jake, you'll know this from World's Fastest Game, will be almost hitting the Team Redline. The fact their starts have been so bad is because they use a foot clutch. And it's their philosophy. They use a foot clutch, not a hand clutch.
Yeah, and using a foot clutch makes sure that you get those quicker starts. A hand clutch is really bizarre. I'd never even thought you'd even use a hand clutch to begin with, and that's a very, it's a very different skill set that you normally find, because it goes against everything you've learned whenever you try and pick up a car and try and learn how to drive. You always use your feet, you don't use your hands. So yeah, it's like learning a different skill set, and when it comes down to trying to understand why that makes you quicker or not, it takes a very special person to try and reinvent the wheel, and I like the decision to go to a hand clutch. I still think it needs a bit more refining.
Bonner House in P number 11 though. Bonner House in P number 11 in the World Championship Series. He is the leading Redline car, if I'm correct. No, Freek Schulhorst is in P number 5 right now. I'll take that one back. Freek Schulhorst in P number 5. Freek Schulhorst actually putting pressure a little bit on Marcus Jensen right now. And here's a look at the lap times between the two drivers over the course of the last few laps. You'll see that Freek Schulhorst is closing in on Marcus Jensen, but only by half a tenth of a second. Half a second that last lap. 1/10 of a second lap before their journey.
And a Berryman spin. So as you say that, Peter Berryman behind spins, and he's under attack from, he's got two teammates behind, so this will be interesting. And I'm just speaking to Pascalis Georgis, who isn't here for this race from Core Sim Racing. There's hardly a core car out there. He reckons that nobody's really practiced for this race at all. So this is why you're seeing guys like Peter spin and a whole comedy of errors today.
Yeah, and a lot of, that's a weird spin actually there, Johnny, having a look at that. Gets himself onto the red AstroTurf, down at turn number 14 to 15, gets himself back on track. But for Peter Berryman, that is a weird spin down Nix at turn 13.
Yeah, that's where you need so much mechanical grip. You look at soft damping, and that's where the weight transfer really helps there. So as he applies the throttle, it just snaps away from him. So you really need the trust there. The illusion of the corner is throws your mind off sometimes. There's a whole lot of elements through this section, but he picks it up now, and he's still ahead of Hegel and Fluke behind, who now have DRS. So three mad scrambling Apex cars ready to catch Marty Piatello, who's 6.5 seconds in front.
Let's talk about Martin Kroenke for a moment, though. He is leading this race by a total of 7.8 seconds now over Matt Backham. He's pulled out that lead. What does Martin Kroenke have left to prove in the World Championship Series here, Jake?
Not much. He's got multiple championships. He's got a win record of 13 straight if he holds this off to the end of this event, 12 out of 12, which is unheard of. His legacy undoubtedly now will live on forever in sim racing folklore, and I think the only thing that will motivate Martin Cronkey is to beat Gregor Hutu's record of 5 World Championships. I'll say this very clearly. I think he is the Alberto Ascari to the Juan Manuel Fangio that is Gregor Hutu, and if Martin Cronkey decides that he wants to continue on, unlike, let's say, Ascari, who tragically died for his 3rd season at Ferrari, I think you'd find Martin Cronkey would equal championships, if not beat the amount of championships that Gregor Hutu has, if that is what Martin Cronkey wants to do. But if it comes down to a stage where Martin Cronkey said maybe today that he wanted to hang up his boots, I wouldn't be surprised to see Martin Cronkey do that, because he doesn't have anything left to prove. He is the fastest man in the world right now in sim racing, and I don't think there's many competitions, world's fastest game or otherwise, that could argue Martin Cronkey is the fastest sim racer.
In a level between Gregor Hutu and Martin Cronkey, has this championship for Martin Cronkey been better than any championship, Jake, that Gregor Hutu has ever won?
That's difficult to say, because Gregor Hutu has not been at his best. He's missed multiple races, and it's not necessarily a straight fight, but what Martin Cronkey's done is he's put Gregor Hutu in that situation where he has to miss races because there is no enjoyment anymore for Gregor Hutu, or whatever it is that it may be. I think for Martin Cronkey to put Gregor Hutu into submission and say, this has been my playground, but I don't like being in my playground anymore, that is the greatest achievement Martin Cronkey will ever get to say.
Yeah, and again, I go back to 2012, and it was a race in a championship called Proto GT, when Martin Cronkey was ahead of Gregor Hutu, and he held off Gregor Hutu in a GT car for 45 minutes. And I said, you know what? That guy is a future world champion. He got his first world championship. He got his second world championship, of course, here in the World Championship Grand Prix Series. And now he's 20 laps away from winning every single race of the championship. We're going to take this quick break here on RaceSport TV and on iRacing Live, but when we come back with the final part of the final round of the championship, Cronkey leads. Let's see what he does.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them for abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show under the world of outlaws.
Hey guys, Christopher Bell here. As you guys know, iRacing is coming out with dirt, and it's been a long time coming. So I'm here today to kind of show you around the sprint cars and hopefully give you some insight for whenever you first drive it. So here we are at Williams Grove, gonna go out and make a couple laps in the 410 wing sprint car. I'm on default setup with a gear change to a 522. As we roll out of the pits, you guys might notice that the car wants to pull left and you have to hold the steering wheel right to go straight. That's normal for a sprint car because you have so much stagger, it's always trying to turn the car left. Once you get up to speed, that goes away. Going down the straightaways, Williams Grove has really long straightaways and really tight corners. The big wings on the sprint cars, it always wants to pull you left into the corner, so it doesn't take much steering wheel input to get the car into the corner. A big key for the wing sprint cars is that they always like to go straight. They don't like to be too sideways, so the less steering wheel input you can have and the straighter you can keep the car, the faster you'll go. As the track slickens off, you'll be able to play with the setup to get the car driving even straighter yet. And that's a couple laps around Williams Grove. So here we are at Eldora Speedway. I'm on baseline setup with a gear change to a 511. As we roll out at Eldora Speedway, one thing that you'll notice is that the corners are really sweeping and it's almost a circular shape. The big thing about Eldora is just keeping that steering wheel straight. The straighter you keep the wheel and the less steering input that you give the car, the faster you'll go. The fast line around Eldora will be right around the inside wall in the corners and then with a big arc towards the outside walls down the straightaways. Then once the track slicks off, you'll be able to follow the groove up towards the outside wall, where the famous Eldora High Line comes into play. So now we're at Volusia Speedway Park with the 410 wing sprint car. I'm on baseline setup with a 511 gear, the same as what we ran at Eldora. Whenever you roll out on the racetrack, you'll notice that Volusia is similar to Eldora. They have long sweeping corners, and it's kind of circular in shape. At Volusia, whenever the track is fast, you'll want to be right down against the concrete wall in the corners with a nice big arc down the straightaway. Whenever the track starts to slicken up, you'll be able to follow the groove up higher and higher. Whenever you get into turns 3 and 4 though, the groove might get up onto the shelf, which is the flatter section of the racetrack, and then it becomes very difficult to exit turn 4 without getting into the wall. And that's just one of the characteristics of Volusia Speedway Park. Hope you guys have fun.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live as we are down to the last 20 laps minimum of the season right now. Worth noting, actually, that Paul Ilbrink is in P number 21 right now here, Johnny. If he stays in P number 21, he will be in next year's World Championship. If he falls behind the driver of David Decor, is it David Decor? Yeah, Dion Verges even. Then he'll be out of the championship, and he's losing time actually to the driver of Dion Verges lap on lap.
Yeah, he is. A few tenths here and there. So Burgess in a different team in Orion. I don't know if he's aware of that or not. Paul should certainly be aware of his situation. So Dion's unfazed by the fact that Paul Ilbrink's there, and we know Dion Verges anyway this season has been here and there. We know how strong David Corpse has been in World's Fastest Gamer too, Will. He's been doing very well over there.
He's done fantastically in World's Fastest Gamer, actually. Worth noting, 2 retirees in today. Dan Wenting and Alexei Yakola are both out of this event. Timon Meglek is on pit road. He's not officially out of this event, but he is, for all intents and circumstances, 16 laps down, so he will not be a factor in the last part of this event. But for the driver of Paul Ilbrink, what do you do in this circumstance here, Johnny, when you know you're being closed on, and have a look at lap gaps as well, because the lap gaps are always important in this circumstance. And when you've got someone closing on you by a tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths a lap, and you've got just under 20 laps to go, do you start panicking?
No, definitely not. You always have to keep your cool. You start to hope a little bit, because you know that by the time they catch you, they may be or most likely will eventually make their way past. But you just hope that the dirty air starts to compromise them a little bit, and they start to even choke up just slightly, making a few errors. They're trying to make the pass done. It is a battle for P21 though. So as I said, if Ilbrink's aware of his championship situation, he's going to be very nervous. But he'll be wanting to catch Yavaz and Victor Preto in front, as well as Diogo Oliveira, and he's going to be looking at both that time as well in front of him, as well as the gap to Burgess behind.
Yavaz really is in that dirty air as well right now. Yavaz trying to get ahead of Victor Preto in the Champs iRacing machine. Ahead of Yavaz is Victor Preto. Ahead of Victor Preto is Diego Oliveira, and Oliveira made a bit of a wide line there through turn number 1. and that allowed the driver of Victor Prey to close up. Also allowed Jan Vaz to close up a little bit. But this is a nice little scrap then in the last round of the championship. And quite often, Johnny, this last round of the championship always becomes like an ESPN analyst sort of thing, because the stories that happen are kind of almost off the racetrack compared to onto the racetrack, but we still got a good battle. Victor Prieto, good line there, who turned number 11.
Yep, and he goes swinging past Diogo Oliveira here on the straight. Diogo doesn't have DRS to defend, so Prieto goes sailing past. And what can Vaz do behind? He's still a few car lengths behind the bunch. Diogo trying to fight back. Vaz having a look as well. Whoa, good scrap there. And with 16 laps to go, we're definitely going to see more of this.
Yeah, there's a replay then from Victor Prieto from up above. And that's a bad line there taken by the driver, Diego Oliveira. But Vaz was not able to capitalize on it. You can see that the driver of Oliveira tried to move himself back into the slipstream, but was not able to do anything down into turn number 12. And well, Jake, that's what we still in World's Fastest Gamer. You can make a pass down at turn number 11. It does make you vulnerable. It doesn't mean that you will lose a position, as now we've got ourselves Victor Prieto versus Diego Oliveira for P number 18.
Yeah, we do. And look at João Vaz down to the inside, and there was a double take there from the positive sim racing driver of Oliveira, who's just going backwards. So through goes now João Vaz, making that position, and go very careful because Paul Ilbrink is closing up. And that was a second he took out of Oliveira on that last lap. That's crucial for him, but more crucial behind. Verges half a second a lap quicker than Paul Ilbrink, and now the gap down to just 1.5 seconds here, Will, with just 16 laps to go when they cross the line. I think Verges has got Ilbrink in the sights, and Ilbrink will now be hoping that Oliveira slows right down.
And of course, don't forget, Johnny, in the last couple of laps, tyre wear becomes the big issue, but also we've got to remember the fact that the DRS range is 1 second. The gap is currently 1.4 seconds. It will close down to about 1.2 seconds because of this long straightaway. But Verges versus Ilbrink, it's got my leg tapping already, and I'm not even a Red Bull Racing driver.
Yeah, the Christian Hornet. There you go. And Verges half a second a lap quicker last time around. He's definitely, that's definitely enough of an advantage to get past. He'll be coming in with confidence too. You know, it's not like he's just miraculously behind him. He did earn this lap after lap. He's got momentum. He's got confidence. He's got the vibe to make a pass. He has to let through though a man named Martin Kroenke, the race leader, and so Verges lets him through, I think, at a good point of the racetrack. So let's see if Ilbrink has to let him through at a very difficult point.
Gap moved up by a second as a consequence of that, and of course, you've got to let the race leader go by. Blue flags are in regulation here in the World Championship Grand Prix 2. Shannon Whitmore and the entire team. Let's give a shout out to Shannon Whitmore, to the likes of everyone who works in that team, Tyler Hudson as well, because they are meticulous in making sure that the lead drivers do get their opportunities. This is an F1 race. This is an F1 sim sports race, and they do what they need to do. But gap is 2.5 seconds. At some point down the line, Dion Verges is going to have to make a way for the driver of Martin Kroenke. Martin Kroenke has not yet got past Dion Verges. We go on board of him right now as they head themselves down towards turn number 11. Actually, I will say, Dion Verges might get the benefit out of here, Johnny.
Yeah, possibly. He did make a mockery of the turn 11 hairpin though, so he's lost a bit of time through there. Ilbrink is going to have to let through Kroenke through the braking zone, I assume. Or maybe not. He's going to wait another couple of corners here. So Ilbrink has to watch out because, as I said, he doesn't want to lose time, and I think he might actually let him through at the exact same spot that Dion Verges did. No, a bit earlier. So there we go. So how much time does Verges gain back up? The gap's back to about 1.7 seconds. So I think Verges lost a bit of time there, Will.
I agree with that one. As you can see, also Paul Ilbrink gets himself a bit of a run. I guess the DRS, not the DRS in some mistake, but gets the drag there on the exit of turn number 18 towards the start of finish line. Let's have a look then at this battle between these two drivers. They battle for what is actually a championship implication here. Paul Ilbrink compared to the driver ahead of them.
Yeah.
5 seconds. Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, so got a lot to look out for here. And
Paul Elbrink
have
has
a look
3
through-
seconds there through the sequence of drivers letting him pass. And of course, it's not just the driver of Martin Kroenke letting himself pass. The amount of Backham's coming through. Like to Mitchell de Jong will come before the end of this race.
yeah, has to look out. This Brito 1/10 behind Yavaz. Yavaz now under attack there from Victor. I told you this battle was never going to end. It's just Diogo that's dropped off. Bit of switcheroo they do on the straight. And Brito under braking. There's such an easy corner to run wide here, but they all keep it together. Keep all 4 wheels on the tarmac through turn 13. Spot the apex on the traction through 14. Don't lose the car through there, and then straighten the car in the braking zone so you don't lock up into 15 and 16 through the exit. Brilliant stuff there from Yavaz, who gets a good advantage for himself.
Yavaz up into P number 18 in this event then in the Orion race team car. But we talked about World's Fastest Gamer here, Jake. And Orion Racing Team, the best team in World's Fastest Gamer right now, but they are still struggling in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series because of the fact that, yes, they've got themselves 1 team member who's fantastic, but the rest of the team, P number 10 through to P number 20, is their modus operandi almost.
You have to look at the shocking absence, actually, you should say, of Davide Corps, who already booked his ticket, doesn't have to race here. And I said, look at this World Championship. If one of the 2 drivers, being Schothorst and De Corps, decides they don't want to race, then we know where their priorities lie. You know where De Corps' priorities lie. They lie in World's Fastest Gamer and Interlagos tomorrow. So for Frank Schothorst doing this race, he's in that scrap for P3. He's in that scrap with Marti Piatella, but he's winning and he's keeping himself ahead. He had extra duties that he's got to deal with, and then he's got to transition with a 1-day turnaround to Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace. That's a massive difference. And
I can't say it, you can't say it.
Yeah, that's fine, but
I'll say, yeah, don't worry.
it doesn't matter. But, you know, you look at Orion and what they need to do as a collective team. They've got to find that little bit more pace to keep themselves going. They've got to find a bit more. But in response, Paul Ilbrink's found 0.3 of a second on Dion Verges with a 38.9. That's a good lap for Ilbrink.
It really is. And actually, let's have a look on board with Paul Ilbrink in just 1 second's time, if we can get that one to you. Paul Ilbrink right now is scored in the 21st position. Jake, if he stays where he is, if I get this right, he is not in the World Championship Series for next year.
No, you've got that wrong. If he stays P21, he's in by 1 point. 1 solitary point in comparison to Patrick Holtzman, who is not in this race. If he loses that position, it becomes a tie, Will, between Holtzman and Ilbrink. And because Holtzman has the better race finish in comparison to Ilbrink, that means Holtzman goes through instead of Ilbrink.
And that's the big thing there for Holtzman, because we have got people who do end up losing their race at the end of it. So for Ilbrink, he's got to say where he is, P number 21. But P number 21 often here, Johnny, is not the sort of thing that most people aspire to be.
No, definitely not. It's a nice number, though, if you think about it. You know, when you wear numbers in sports, it's like 21's a number I'd pick. But when you come to motor racing, you always want number 1. Oh!
My goodness me, Ilbrink with a half spin out to 9. My goodness, he almost threw it all away.
And you kept that together, got onto the brakes, smart, and you kept that in a straight line. Good reactions, though. Although he's lost a lot of time to Dion Verges here on the straight, and Verges, making a double whammy, also has DRS.
Here's a replay then of Paul Ilbrink. He just got himself too much oversteer on the exit of turn number 8 there. Got himself back together, but now Ilka Happala is ahead of him. Dion Verges is still behind him, but only by 0.6 of a second there. As we go back to our live cameras on board of Paul Ilbrink, and you've got to say that Ilbrink is right now, Johnny, under pressure.
Yep, he certainly is. He's got to keep his head cool. Only 10 laps to go. These are going to be some sweaty, nervy moments right now. And you might think you're sitting here, it's eSports, it's nothing. You do sweat your clothes out. And you are going to have some very sore limbs by the end of this race. You don't want to be tight gripping that wheel, which is what Ilbrink if he hasn't trained not to do that, may possibly be doing at this point in time.
Let's look at the lap gap. So you can see there that Dion Vergis gained 1 second over Paul Ilbrink that last time by. So Vergis smells some blood right now. The gap is 4/10 of a second. They head themselves through section number 1. Section number 1, they head themselves through right now. Now into section number 2. 11. Oh, Vergis takes a very wide line there. And doesn't help him actually, because you got the driver behind him of Frederick Kern. Not Frederick Kern, it's a lap driver who's trying to find one of the passes there, Jenny.
Jenny?
Yeah.
Jake, I'll take that.
Jenny or Jake? Or Johnny or Jake?
I don't
Who are you
care.
talking to?
I don't care.
Look, he basically ran it deep under braking, so he, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much why. I don't think that was intentional, because he almost ran up the back, didn't he, of
Yeah,
Paul
he did.
Ilbrink? Almost ended his championship challenge for 2018, or would have to force him to go to the Pro Series. So Dion Vergis there. That'll help Paul. When you see that happen, Paul will be like, oh, mistake. I've got the upper hand here, possibly. So still plenty of laps to go. Ilbrink won't be looking at a really... Oh, is Dion Vergis now? Is he run wide? No, he's letting through Mac back.
Vergis run very wide, and the gap between Vergis and Ilbrink now up to 1.2 seconds in towards turn number 1. But again, in towards 1, you got yourself the fact that Ilbrink struggles a lot section of the racetrack. He struggles from here there, Johnny.
Yeah, definitely. So through the first sector they all go. Back, there's Ilbrink letting him through. Doesn't want to lose too much time. Oh, here's Vergis. He has to make the pass here. It could possibly be done into turn 11 because Ilbrink, oh, hopefully he doesn't have a moment through here. Nope, nice and simple through 9. Turn 10's a straight line now, but I think Vergis is a bit too far behind. As you can see, the rubber start to make the tarmac darker. That's where you see the grip on the racetrack there. The dynamic track coming into implementation in iRacing a couple of years ago. That's doing its work. Vergis, with the world's worst exit out of turn 11, loses a lot of time to Paul Ilbrink.
He could have got the pass there done in towards turn number 12, but he had a ridiculous exit out of turn number 11 there, Jake.
He did, and it was all about that wheel spin coming off it. He takes the wider line to try and open up that track through that section to get a very good straight. But again, he's just struggling to get things sorted. I don't know whether it's a dirty line effect. I don't know whether it's a case of he's just got this mental block in front of him. But Dion Vergis is a driver that can be Mr. Dependable at times. He can be that driver who gets the pass done when he needs to. You don't often see passes from Dion Vergis, but he doesn't have to do one, remember. He can choose to stay behind Ilbrink between now and the end of the race, give Ilbrink that seat over Patrick Holtzman. I wouldn't think why he'd do that, but right now, there's a case of nobody can catch up to that driver of Paul Ilbrink except Dion Vergis. So it's all on Vergis now to make that move, and he's starting to struggle on the Orion machine.
Back to your race leader, and Martin Kroenke has a lead of 11.8 seconds over Matt Backham. Let's ride on board then for a couple of corners with Martin Kroenke. He's a world champion already, but he's looking to go 12 out of 12. What we saw there, Jake, was the fact that Martin Kroenke was equal, because he was slower in section number 1, slower in section number 2, but faster in section number 3.
Yeah, he certainly was. And Martin Kroenke is all conquering, all dominant, and with 12 seconds of an advantage, he doesn't actually have to do too much from here. He manages the race between now and the end of this event, and you couldn't ask for any more. Other battles on circuit now, I'm looking at House versus Umashima going on right now. Umashima's doing Higeland has just completely got the both of them on the run to 10A, I do believe, turn 12 even, because House had the world's worst run. House has damage on the front wing. House has damage on the front wing. He loses 1 position, 2 positions, Will, and Higeland takes both of them in the space of 1 straight.
1 position, 2 position. Here's on board to Kazuki Umashima. Almost hits him there, down the exit of turn 14. 15, 16, 17, 18. Well, Kazuki Umashima now up into P number 10 here today. Oh, Johnny, that's a big change there for Radical, because they need this. P number 10, last round of the season, getting a P number 10 is going to be important for them.
It is, but what happened on lap 47 is Umashima had a half spin, Bono collected him, and that's what's happened there. It was on the exit of turn 13.
Piatella, 30-second penalty.
Yeah, so Piatella's had a 30-second penalty, so it was the exit of turn 13 where Bono hit Umashima, and that's where that damage happens to Bono's front wing. Very terminal damage there for Bono to end the season. But Marty Piatella there with a severe penalty, definitely not what he wants to see. He's black flagged, he's out of the, he's not out of the race, is he? No, he's number 30. No, excuse me, he's 30-second penalty. I don't understand that message from the stewards there. It's very, never seen that kind of message before.
Yeah, here's a replay then. All these 2 drivers coming together. Antoine Hagelin, Kazuki Umashima. You see Kazuki Umashima through 18-19, just behind the driver of Antoine Hagelin. But other things are in play here. And again, Johnny, that does not affect necessarily the World Championship, but also in terms of what will happen for next year as well. Because we've got drivers right now who are thinking, scrambling, saying, I need to be here next year, who are not necessarily yet.
Yes, so something to look out for. And Piatella's in that pit box for quite a while. Have you ever seen a 30-second penalty?
I have, but in the long pain series, not in the World Championship series. But again, COTA is a track where you get the 1X's because of the fact that, you know, it's so close in terms of the margin of error. Yeah,
exactly. So Piatella out in the way. He's just fed in front of Kevin Ellis Jr., who I hope's had a clean race. Him and Georges have collided with each other the past few races. Never ended well, but definitely haven't this race because Georges isn't here. And they continue away unscathed. Alex Bergeron, another 30-second penalty for him. I'd love to know why, though. Unsure why.
Instant limit. So they've gone over the halfway on the instant limit, Johnny. That's why they get the 30-second penalty.
Yeah. Here's the replay on board by Piatella.
So where did iRacing talk about that incident limit thing? I've never heard about that before. I've never been told about that.
But the thing is,
we've never done it until now, the final race.
But COTA is the track that's got the most incident limit opportunities of any racetrack there. You see Martin Piatella almost storming himself there in towards pit road. In towards pit road, he does indeed come. He's back out on the racetrack, but Martin Piatella right now down to speed number 15. That's the thing, Johnny, because most of the racetracks, when you start, we know who is the issue. But here, every single corner is an incident if you get right.
Yeah, it has. I mean, there's a lot of corners here. The first sector, you can lose the incident limit. On the main straight, if you accidentally jink to the right, pretty sure I had their racing here a couple of years ago, got in the 1X. The final couple of corners there, that turn 20, but that turn 19, the exit, when you run wide there, that's the one that catches a lot of drivers out as well. So turn 12, if you run it deep under braking, there's so many corners, as you mentioned. It's because of the tarmac runoff. You're allowed to run off and not ruin your race, but that's where the incident limit comes into play. But yeah, I've hardly seen this happen all season, so it's good to see the stewards doing their job and doing a good job of it for the final round. Only 5 laps remaining of the season.
Indeed so, but Martin Cronkey does lead the season with 5 laps to go. There you can see him. He is trying to pass there, Jake. More drivers. And for him, this is just him managing his lap times. I would say he is leading the race in that command central machine. He's got a driver ahead of him. That driver is...
That's Piatella.
Piatella right now. Piatella, he's an teammate. He's on pass in a couple of laps time.
Exactly, and that depends on Piatella's pace, because Piatella no slouch on what he's got, and it was just that penalty that's put him back. So there is a lot that Martin Kroenke's done, and he has been all conquering. There's nothing you can say about him, but I want to go back to that battle for the top 30 again. Ilbrink versus Vergers, because Vergers, once again, back onto the rear, has another opportunity to close it. Not this lap, he's not close enough to get down to the inside, but give him 1 lap, and he may have a chance. That's a wide line taken by Ilbrink.
It is a very wide line taken by Ilbrink, and as they come through, and Vergers won't get it down towards turn number 1, I don't think, Johnny, but I think that Vergers has got a good shot there of getting past Paul Ilbrink, and that has huge requalification implications in terms of who will be in and who will be out.
Yeah, definitely will. Come on now, Paul. Only a few more laps to hold on to it. Here they come towards the final corner. Blind apex through here. Easy to get on the traction, but easy to lose it. So depends on how your car's dialed in. On the main straight here, uphill braking zone. There's so many lines you can take into this corner. And Vergers goes for the typical, doesn't go too wide, doesn't go too tight. And they head towards his first sector. You can see Vergers has lost a lot of time there. And
I don't think he's got the straight line speed. That's the issue.
That was ERS. He saved all of his ERS down that front straight.
So that's what I was about to say. On the front straight, he's just conserving a bit of power, and he comes through the first sector. A lot of downforce, a lot of driving school needed. Almost lost it there. Stepping onto the curb. There's no grip on that curb, as we have another spinner in front of these two. Who's that? Diogo Oliveira.
And Oliveira, we've seen so many times in terms of the series spinning that
and that's
car.
30-second penalty for Oliveira as well. So that means that more safety there for Ilbrink. I think Ilbrink's safe now.
Yeah, so Ilbrink can lose his position and still stay in the World Championship for next year. We see it on board there. Oliveira coming back onto track. Dion Vergers just ahead of them. That was close. Vergers is just ahead of Oliveira. Doesn't matter now between these two drivers, because Oliveira still, Jake, has to have that 30-second penalty.
He does, and that's going to mean that Oliveira, if any slim chance that he had, is now gone. It means Ilbrink is finally safe and will get the drive for next season.
Oliveira spins.
Oh, yeah, he certainly does. And, well, Oliveira, I think this is going to be his day pretty much done. It's a very frustrating day, and once you start spinning, you spin it a little bit more. He'll come down for the 30-second penalty. I won't be surprised if it goes up to 60 with the amount of spins that he's had today. And again, another half one. There's a lot of damage on that machine.
He's got a problem. He's got damage. He's definitely got a problem, because under braking, that car is not stable. So there's something wrong with that car. As you can see there, he's either got something wrong externally with his wheel or with his pedals, or it's something in the sim itself that's really costing him now under braking.
He's on board the Oliveira then. So down towards. That car didn't even hit the apex. That's the issue, Johnny. I think that car, yeah, you're safe, you're right. It's damaged, but you're trying to get back on towards pit road right now. But with 3 laps remaining, oh my word. The spin down at turn number 18 is just huge.
Yeah, just snapped away from him. So he's definitely got an issue to that car, and I think, I mean, that just gives Paul Ilbrink here some more spots. So Paul is a little bit more comfy.
Jake, I would say that Paul is now safe.
I agree with you, and part of the reason why Paul Ilbrink is safe is down to the fact that Tomo Meglic had his big incident halfway through the race, and I said it was a great start for Tomo Meglic, a driver that needed to have that good start. But this is the thing, Tomo Meglic was a driver on his own as a team with the Sim Racing Bay machine. You don't see him doing any race on iRacing except these one. This is his sole focus and dedication, And to see Meglic out is a shame. He's been here since the dawn of time of I've known sim racing, but that's something to keep an eye out on. Oliveira isn't going to be officially classed as out. There's a lap and a half to go for the man who could go and probably should go 100% unbeaten this season. The man unbeaten in Formula Racing for over a calendar year.
Yeah, and for Martin Kroenke, we've got to talk about that one here, Johnny, because it is Martin Kroenke. He has led not all the laps this year, but he has been the driver that has found a way to win every single lap of every single race this year.
He's been phenomenal. He's been dominant, he's been great, and he's going towards win number 12 this season, win number 13 in a row, counting back all the way to the end of 2016, where he won his first championship here at the Circuit of the Americas. Not the same record beaten today. He already wrapped up the championship earlier on, but he does. I mean, what an accolade to have, to clean sweep a season, something that no driver I've seen in what this series sort of, not replicates, but is Formula One. Nobody's ever done in Formula One as dominant as Michael Schumacher's been throughout all his seasons, as dominant as Gregor Houtu was in the inaugural season here in 2010. He wasn't able to achieve it. It's one of the most brilliant accolades you could think of, and he's wrapped up the championship to go with it, which is most important, by the way, than the win streak.
Martin Kroenke has already won the championship, but now it's a case of getting 12 wins out of 12. Let's ride on board then for the final lap there for Martin Kroenke. Back in 2010, no one ever thought that Gregor Houtu's record could be beaten for the most wins in a row. Martin Kroenke heads himself through turn number 18, through 19 in just a moment's time. 19 in towards turn number 20. And Martin Kroenke will win the final round of the championship. Martin Kroenke wins every single round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Martin Kroenke arguably has had the best season in the history of the World Championship Series. He's closed it down right now in that VRS Commander Sim Sports car, but would anyone ever do the same again? I don't think anyone ever will. Martin Kroenke has equaled Gregor Houtu's record of most wins in a row. He's equaled or bested the most wins in a season. But Martin Kroenke is world champion in 2017 as he heads himself through the S's through section number 1. Martin Kroenke, he's already world champion as he heads himself down towards turn number 11. But Martin Kroenke now has a footstool at the very top of sim racing. Martin Kroenke, world champion for 2017. Martin Kroenke, one of the best we have ever seen in the World Championship Grand Prix Series. Wow. Conversation automatically then turns to 2018. What will Martin Kroenke do next, Johnny?
Who knows? I'm getting scared. He's improved every season since his rookie season. And this time around, he caps it off and demoralizes the rest of the field, winning by 13 seconds too over his teammate. De Jong only ended up 18 seconds behind, so De Jong wasn't even able to catch Mac Backham. So brilliant race. It goes to show how strong Mac was. And by the way, with a couple of laps to go, it was Peter Berryman who capitalized on a Frank Schottl spin at the final corner. And Frank Schottl falls out of the top 5 for such a brilliant season Schottl has had in a brilliant race. That last spin there wasn't the best way to finish the season.
2018. Jake, can anyone beat Martin Kroenke?
A new season always presents new challenges, and you don't know. You don't know who's going to turn up through Road to Pro and maybe challenge. We might see Sebastian Job come back. We might see Frederick Rasmussen decide to challenge. We might see someone like Jerome Fakel decide to make his way up through the ranks. We don't know who turns up and tries to go for it, and we don't know if there's going to be massive improvements from Hutu, massive improvements from House, massive improvements from even De Jong and Backham. We don't know who can beat Martin Kroenke. We have to wait until March next year to work out, can anyone beat Martin Kroenke? Is anybody quick enough to beat him? This season, nobody's been able to touch him or light a matchstick near him.
But
Next
the thing
season,
is,
it's a different thing.
12 out of 12, Johnny. That will never be heard and never be seen again in iRacing history.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who knows next season? We'll see.
Oh, come on. No, come on. Will any driver ever win 12 out of 12 ever again in iRacing history? Come on.
It's going to be tough because, I'm not going to say it's never going to happen again. If this goes on for the next 100, years, it could happen.
Okay,
but
yeah.
It's so dominant that it's almost impossible to beat. Almost impossible. I'm scared that next year, if we have another 12 or 16 rounds, he's going to continue this win streak on to like 25 wins in a row because at the moment, he's unbeatable.
Here's the race results then. Martin Kroenke, he is 12 out of 12. He has won his 12th round in this series. He has got 100% race victory. Martin Kroenke wins the final round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series here today by 13.6 seconds over Mac Backham. Third place is Mitchell de Jong. Fourth place is the driver of Mark Jensen for the Apex Racing UK team. But you've got to remember the fact in this, Koana Simsports get themselves a 1-2-3 here today. Apex Racing UK get themselves P4, P5. Team Redline, they are only P number 6 here today with Frank Shawhorst. David Fluke in P7, Anton Hegland in P number 8, Graham Carroll in 9th, and Ilka Happala rounds out your top 10. The difference between round number 1 and now is the fact that Koana Simsports have got a 1-2-3, but also Apex Racing UK have got themselves more drivers in the top 10 than Team Redline. That is a big thing to move forward to next year because we know how big the battles will be next year. But on House, P number 11, disappointing he would say. Vortex Racing, they have P number 12 with Stephen Michaels. Master Piatella 13th on VS Koana Simsports. Then Radicals Online for Master Piatella, Kazuki Imashima 14th place. And then Kevin Ellis Jr. rounds out your top 15. But it's a 1-2-3 for the team of VS Koana Simsports. We'll talk to them in a moment's time. You know what? Back in 2010, Gregor Hutu set the record for the most wins in a row. Also, he set the most wins in a World Championship Grand Prix series. Now, Martin Kroenke has not had the opportunity to get the second of those accolades, but he has had the opportunity to become one of iRacing's World Championship Grand Prix Series stalwarts. He has won every single round of this series, and he's here now on RaceSport TV. Martin, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
If we go back to round number 6, round number 7, round number 8, round number 9, you said, it might not happen. But now you've won every single round of this year's championship. What do you now say to me?
Well, obviously, I'm really, really happy about it. I guess I sort of couldn't really believe in it for the most part in the season that it is going to be a clean sweep. Now that I have it, obviously, it's quite overwhelming, quite nice. Not as nice as the championship, of course, but still, I think it is a pretty good achievement.
You won here today at COTA, and again, the last couple of tracks are not typically Commander racetracks. We're going to talk about Mercedes and Ferrari and Red Bull, for example. We know that certain tracks are better for people than others, but you have won every single race of this championship. How was your race here today?
Pretty much relatively relaxed, apart from one moment shortly after my pit stop, where the car bottomed out in that kink shortly before the hairpin that leads to the back straight. Almost lost the car there. That was a little bit scary. Not exactly sure what happened there. Maybe cut it a little bit too much. I don't know. But other than that, it was relatively smooth sailing. Got a relatively good launch, and then immediately had a gap of, I think, 1.2, 1.3 seconds after 2 or 3 laps. So there wasn't really too much to worry about.
And I've got to ask you, and this is a serious question. You have won 12 races in a row in terms of this year. Won last year, of course, the final round of the championship. You versus Hutu. That is the big thing that's coming up right now. Because Hutu, of course, won so many rounds, so many championships in a row. Now you are the person who has got himself 2 championships and has done a clean sweep even. Does this make you, in your opinion, alongside Hutu?
I don't know. I guess I'm the wrong person to ask when it comes to that matter. Don't really have an answer for that, unfortunately.
But honestly, in terms of winning 12 races in a row, winning the entire World Championship Grand Prix Series, what's next for you? Honestly, what is next for you?
I don't know. I guess just like last year. Some leaks maybe in the winter, and then try again next year.
Johnny, any questions?
To Martin, I want to know how you're so fast. That's the only question I got. I don't know how you do it. I mean, we've asked you questions all season. And by the way, thanks for showing up to interviews for every race this season too, because a lot of guys haven't. You've been so quick. I got nothing to say. Just keep it up. Get a rest. I think that's the main thing. After a season's done, you just want to stop sim racing for a little bit. If you do want to carry on, then that's amazing motivation too. So I got nothing else to say.
Jake?
Well, it's been a fantastic season for Martin, and I guess the only question that I want to see, or I want to ask really, is, Martin, where is it that you gained over the winter to give yourself that advantage over Redline? Because, yes, you took the psychological advantage for winning the championship last year, but you had to really fight and claw with Gregor Hutu. When do you think was the moment that you completely eclipsed Team Redline?
It probably has been in the preparation for the season, actually. I think driving-wise, there wasn't that much of a change in my driving style or in the driving performance itself. It was mostly a setup change that Marty discovered over the winter, which was essentially helping us quite a lot with both pace and also with drivability of the car. So a huge thanks goes to Marty to that. He figured that out. A trick that I initially didn't believe it would work. It worked in the end, so quite happy about that. Other than that, I don't know. Driving-wise, I don't think that I have improved that much, honestly.
But today, and again, I'll talk about teams because I know you're a big team player. You got 1, 2, 3 for Commander Sim Sports here today. How much does that mean to you in terms of not only wrapping up 12 wins in a row, but also having your team, Command and Sim Sports teams, alongside you?
It means a lot. I mean, obviously, yeah, you want the teammates to perform well as well, and to have the opportunity now relatively often. Well, Suzuka was a little bit of a controversy, but Suzuka was a 1-2-3, now a 1-2-3 clean without any questions asked. That's obviously a great thing, and yeah, it would be nice if we could go 1-2-4 or 1-2-5 even if we had more drivers running.
Is that your modus operandi? Is that your thing that you're looking forward to then in 2018? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for Command Sim Sports?
Ideally, that would be the case. If we get some drivers that run with us. At the moment, we're only 4 guys that run it, so we can't block up the top 5. But hopefully, if we get someone, maybe.
But again, looking forward to next year, you've won 2 championships in a row. The only person you have to beat is Gregor Hutu. So moving forward to next year, is it a case of beating Gregor Hutu's record, moving forward to get 3 world championships in a row and beating Hutu and establishing himself as the world's best sim racer?
I don't know really. I'd just like to run another season really and perform as well as I could. Whether it will end up being a championship or not, I don't know. At this moment, I honestly don't really care that much. I just want to have a nice season, do the best I can, and then we'll see what happens.
Well, Martin Kroenke, again, you've won 12 races out of 12. This is historic in terms of iRacing. Who do you want to thank? Who do you want to give a shout out to? Who do you want to say, you know what, we did it?
First of all, of course, to the team. That's probably the most important, especially for all the time that has been spent in preparation and in doing setup work. And special thanks go out to Marty. Again, he has probably been the key person in the improvement for this year. But also, Mac has done a tremendous amount of work, and Mitchell as well. So a huge thanks goes out to those. Then also to the guys in the strategy department, to Philip, Klaus, Jörn. They have always been there doing the strategy for us. So huge thanks to those as well, and of course also to our sponsors, mainly to Virtual Racing School, and also to Heusingveld, to N1 Design, SimQuip, Joel Real Timing, and also a huge thanks to you for providing a broadcast every now and then.
You know what, Johnny, I have to say this. The fact that Martin said the first thing was his team really emphasizes everything that Command Sim Sports really is.
Yeah, they are a great team. Brilliant stuff. You speak about how Marty's contributing to this success. Mitchell, Mac there as well. They're only a 4-horse team at the moment, and they're looking. I mean, maybe is Jeremy Bootloop going to make his return? Martin, I have no idea. He's part of Coanda, isn't he?
He's part of our team, yes.
Yeah, can't he make his return? I'm not making jokes here. Like, he can enter the Pro Series.
Maybe.
Oi, okay. Well, rumors there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in Brazil, maybe.
Yeah, oi, geez. So there's people in the chat as well thinking that might be true. So definitely Jeremy Bootloop next year. So a 5-horse team at the moment, and maybe possibly other drivers. Who knows? But final thing, Martin, is congratulations, man. I mean, such a wonderful season, dominant, and you've really been classy throughout it all. You know, you've kept your feet on the ground through it all, even though a lot of people out there and a lot of sim racers I know really understand the success that you've achieved, and wouldn't be as humble as you are going through it all. So hats off to you, and keep at it. You've got a great team around you, and those guys are insanely quick too. Mac back when Mitchell DeYoung are probably going like, damn, like I'm second and third, but they're second and third to you. Those guys are as quick. So you've been really classy through it all.
Thank you.
And I will say one thing as well, is that, we talk about Gregor Hutu being a 5-time world champion. I have to say, even as a 2-time world champion, I will say this, Jake. Martin has been as perfect as a figurehead for iRacing as Gregor Hutu will ever be. And these are 2 people. We put them on the same stage. Gregor Hutu, Martin Kroenke, same stage.
If there was a Sim Racing Hall of Fame, they'd be 2 of the first candidates that you go and put them into. And I think there is no doubt in my mind on just how good Martin Kroenke has been, that we do talk about him in exactly the same level as Gregor Hutu. We talk about him as being one of the best sim racers that has ever lived. And not only is he one of the best sim racers, he's one of the best sim racers who has specialized and focused right down to a point where he knows what his craft is and he knows what to do. He had the option, potentially, to go qualify for World's Fastest Gamer. He said no. He had the opportunity, potentially, to go off and qualify in any series that he wanted. He decided he wanted to make the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series his playground. And in his playground, it's his rules. And I don't think anyone has managed to get around his rules so far.
And again, I go back to that Proto GT race many, many years ago when I saw Martin Cronkite hold off Gregor Hutu. And I said, you know what? That guy is a future World Championship Grand Prix Series winner. He's done it once, he's done it twice. And Johnny, you're stood by with a driver who arguably next year could well be a championship contender, Mac Backham.
Yeah, thanks, Will. So, Mac, first of all, talk about your start at this race, because you just rocketed off the line from 5th place, went into turn 1 hot, and you almost collected your teammate there, Mitchell, but both of you were really respectful of the room.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm super happy with that. Well, first off, I want to give a huge thanks to the Sacred Discord and the Iron Fist for all his wisdom and his massive fisting. And yeah, I want to thank our team, of course, pretty much everything that Martin said. And yeah, the start was, yeah, I don't know, just the start as usual, I guess.
Keep it G-rated, though, yeah.
Yeah, I've always been good off the line, it seems. So I was kind of expecting to make up a few positions, but wasn't really expecting to be P3. But yeah, was pretty close with Mitchell. I had fake on my inside, so I didn't really know what exactly to do in turn 1, but luckily it all worked out. And then, yeah, went on from there.
Yeah, and were you surprised? I don't want to say surprised. It's a very overused word, but were you satisfied with only being 13 seconds behind Martin? I mean, you were in P2, because I was expecting Mitchell to overtake you. I don't mean that in a bad way, but Mitchell's always been the one who's had the pace to finish P2 behind Martin this season.
Yeah, I know what you mean. No, I'm definitely not happy. I think after the pit stop it was 7 seconds, and I had the goal in my head to keep it under 10. I think it would have been close. I had a few lapped cars that I lost a lot of time behind. I think if I did not have that, then it would have been very, very close. But yeah, I knew I had absolutely no hope of catching him.
So I want to talk about how you've moved to Coanda this season, and what's the biggest thing, or what are the biggest few points that you've learnt the most from getting into the Coanda culture that have really changed yourself as a sim racer? Maybe it's your approach to testing over the past 2 weeks, or maybe it's other elements involved, how you prepare for the race. What are the biggest things you've learnt from this team?
Well, I would say race preparation, something I've learned. It's really in the later parts of the season, especially this round. This is the round I've practiced the least for, but I felt the most ready going into it. So that was very good, and that's just something I learned from going through the whole season with drivers like Martin and Marty, who have an insane amount of experience and just know like everything they're doing. You know, like yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, there you go. And you know what? I'll give you a bonus question just because the end of the season. Give your thank yous out. You know, you've been in P2. Normally P2s don't really get thank yous, but it's the end of the season. Let's give you some breathing room.
Yeah, I want to thank our team and our sponsors, Virtual Racing School, Heusinkveld Engineering, Antwerp Design, SimQuip, JRT. I want to thank you guys for broadcasting, and just a huge thanks still to everyone in the team, also the guys in the background. Also Marty he helped me a bit with the quali setup this morning. Otherwise, I probably would have started further back. So that definitely gave me a bit of a boost today.
Yeah, nice. There you go. Will Backham, P2, brilliant season, his first season with Coanda, and I'm looking forward to 2018 with him. Let's see if he makes another big step ahead.
Oh, definitely, indeed. We've got ourselves Mitchell de Jong. He's scored in 3rd place here today. Still by Jake Sperry, but the thing is, Jake, 3rd place for Mitchell de Jong is, I would almost argue, a disappointment for him.
Difficult to say.
Go on. Ask questions.
It's difficult to say with the massive schedule that Mitchell's had. So, Mitchell, I'll go over to you. P3, yes, it is a podium. Yes, it's the Coanda 1, 2, 3, but you kind of get the short end of the stick in 3rd because you're the driver that maybe is a little bit least remembered for that 1, 2, 3 than anyone else. But your race certainly did have a flare of excitement in the early stages. Talk about the process of trying to get past Marcus Jensen.
Yeah, it was certainly a pretty okay result, I would say. No, we had a bit of a drama off the start, so had to take the run off a bit and lost a bit of time there. But yeah, just after a few laps, was waiting for Mac to get around him, and then I would make my attempts. And I think once the tire started to go away a bit, it became really difficult to stay close in those S's there, and effectively I couldn't really use the DRS correctly without a major dive bomb down that back straightaway, and I don't think I could have made it work. So just trying to look for another opportunity, and eventually it opened up just kind of in the middle of that corner. We had some pretty different lines, and the door kept opening, and I just kind of tried it, and it stuck, so that was quite nice. But otherwise, it was a pretty straightforward race, I would say. Yeah, I wasn't super happy with the way I was driving. I think I took it just a bit too easy to make sure I made it to the end of all my stints, taking care of the tires and whatnot, and I think it didn't really pay off in the end. But no, it's okay. Definitely, certainly a good result. 1, 2, 3 is fantastic. Martin to win all the races, that's super awesome, and Mac to get his, I think, best result in WCS now. That's really good. So
it's always a very good process for you. But looking at your season as a whole, you finished P9 in the championship, 243 points. You only did 8 races in the season, and all the drivers up ahead of you scored 12 starts, 10 starts, 11 starts. They all had those extra runs that scored them those extra little points that get them further up. But in terms of the real comparison to Gregor Hutu, you actually beat Hutu in the championship. Do you feel that now, maybe even though you haven't got any recognition this season, that you feel that you're on a higher level to where you were 12 months ago?
I think definitely this year's been a lot better. Just kind of like I was saying before, in some other races, just, you know, for me, it's always just playing a bit of catch up for every race. So I'll kind of show up for practice a bit late and just try to get close enough on pace and then do the race like that. So it's a bit of a struggle for me. I'm looking forward to next year. I'm really hoping I can do more races, so I have a bit more motivation to fight for something in championship rather than just try to maintain my license and things like that. Kind of after a few races in, we were able to kind of get that somewhat locked in, and then it was just yeah, nothing really more I could have gained in the championship. So yeah, I'm hoping I can do more. I'm trying to stay positive and yeah, have a bit more motivation for next year. It should help a lot in preparation and all that. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Well, of course, you're an X Games gold medalist. You're a rallycross driver first and foremost, and I think the difficulty of balancing those two different sides of the careers is always going to be difficult. So you're hoping for a lighter schedule to potentially challenge Martin for the title next year?
I mean, for sure, it'd always be great. You know, I still have to find a little more pace to do that, I think. But no, I think, yeah, we'll see. Just I can do all the races. That would be the first really, really awesome thing. That'll be really exciting. I think for me, being able to do a full season finally in this series would be really cool. And then yeah, we just go from there, do the best we can, and hope it's good.
Well, you're the only driver to finish within a second this season of Martin Kroenke. But aside from that, though, P3, shout out sponsors. Anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, certainly. Of course, the team. You know, I was playing kind of piggyback off of everyone kind of the whole year. I wasn't really there for preparation for most of the races, so certainly I wouldn't be there without the whole team. From, you know, Martin and Marty and Mac and all the spotters, and, you know, keeping us in the right place on the track, and all our partners, Virtual Racing School, Huizingveld, Anwar Design, SimQuip, and Jill Roll Timing, and also RaceSpot, of course. And yeah, everyone else that just helps out and keeps the team rolling.
Well, there we go then. Mitchell de Jong joining us from VRS Clandestine Sport. And Will, it's not often that we talk to a driver outside the top 5, but I believe we found the driver who has just escaped with a license. Okay. Okay. We'll continue on then. Paul.
Oh, I'm here.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah, Paul Elbrink, welcome to the 2018 World Championship Grand Prix Series.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a huge relief, and I still can't believe that it actually happened today.
Talk us through your race, talk us through the emotions as you cross the start-finish line.
Well, it even began before the race. I did work out a bit what I needed to do to get in the top 30, and there were a couple of guys that didn't race for a couple of races, and if they all didn't show up, then it would be doable. But then I saw today that Graham Carroll was here, so that made it a bit more difficult. But I had worked out the numbers before, and I knew I had to finish 21st, and from the start it went okay, but then it spun after the first lap, or first corner, and I thought it was all gone. But for some reason I managed to sneak back to the front again, and just finished high enough to get in the top 30 again.
How hard is it to be in that mid-pack, knowing you need to be in a position, but knowing that one place below, one place above will be game over?
Oh yeah, it's really hard. It's not so much during the season, but just in this race. I mean, I had probably the worst season of all the seasons I did so far, and yeah, just driving in 21st position when you need to finish 21st, and having someone close in for you with 15 laps to go, it's really nerve-wracking. And also being close to the incident limit to get a penalty as well. I don't know, it's just nerve-wracking, and you just pray that everything goes well, and luckily it did.
You got in by 1 point this year. I know some of your teammates have lost out by 1 point in years previous. How does that affect you heading towards 2018?
Not really much. I mean, I know why I lost a whole lot of points during the season already, and I know I can do better and can finish top 25 or top 20 even if the season goes normal, but I just had a lot of bad luck this season with not being able to qualify because illness and other stuff. But yeah, it's just, I'm just happy that I can skip the Pro Series and get to run another year. That's really great.
Well, who do you want to give a shout out to?
Just my teammates, really. They've been a huge help this year, and especially Gizuki. He's done well with P7 overall, and all the other guys for working on the car and setup and being supportive, and also the non-drivers just being supportive as well, and helping us to do as well as we did.
Well, thank you very much there, Paul Elbrink there from the Radicals Online team. Final thoughts then. The season is over, Johnny. Radicals, they got themselves in at the very end, but it's a 1-2-3 in the final round of the championship for Coanda Sim Sports.
Yeah, brilliant season. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been shorter as well. We've only had the 12 rounds, but I mean, Martin, all credit to him. He's clean swept it, and as I confessed my love to him before, he's been classy through it all. So brilliant season from him and from everybody else as well. We had some entertaining racing throughout. Looking forward to 2018. So have a good off season, and everybody have a good holidays, Christmas, and we'll be ready to go back in 2018. And also for the Pro Series too, over the summer or winter, depending on what area of the planet you live in.
Jake?
Well, it's been a fantastic season and dominance personified from Coanda and Martin Kroenke, but I want to look at that Road to Pro season, Will, because it is looking, with the way that things stand, absolutely stacked. When you think about Patrick Holtzman, Joni Tamala, you talk about the likes of Jorge Montañez, Michael Dinkel, Marin Cholak, Jake Sturgis, Riley Preston, Robin Friscott, all didn't make it inside the top 30 this season. On top of Job, on top of Rasmussen, on top of Krakel, on top of Orozco, on top of even Josh Rogers, you got 15 drivers that can win a season, win a race. Road to Pro is going to be fantastic in November, and that's the big hype that's got to come up next, along with World's Fastest Gamer.
Indeed. So thanks to everyone who's been a part of our coverage over the course of the past year. The iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series for 2017 is in the books, and Martin Kroenke has won every round of the championship, but that's not the entire story. Don't forget, the Pro Series of Road Racing will be here on RaceSport TV and on iRacing Live this coming fall. And also, There are so many stories to talk about as we head ourselves into 2018. Will Martin Kroenke make it 3 World Championships in a row? Will Greg Hutu come back, and will he deliver, or someone else but a person to say for the first time, I am a World Championship winner in the Grand Prix Series? Who will know? We'll find out. Thank you so much, Will Vincent. Also, Jonathan Simone. Jake Sperry here today. We'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye.